Immortal Cultivation with the chip. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Base Pond completed. When the prototype of the base pond was completed, Chen Mo had to admire the chip's design ability. Each independent insect-raising stone room is connected to each other through a network of canals, and there are large ponds in the middle. As long as clean water is injected, a magnificent scene of a giant water village can be created in the dark underground. Fish swim in the water, insects walk on the road, small bridges and flowing water, surrounded by green shade and fragrance, and mulberry leaves fluttering. At the confluence of the tributaries, low-level water spirit stones were inlaid. Chen Mo signaled Lao Wang to carry seawater to fill the pond, and he used the storage bag that had been emptied in advance to transport seawater. Originally, such physical activity could be solved by using 100 or so storage talismans, without running back and forth on the surface and underground. But Chen Mo really had no money, and he was reluctant to buy the unjustified spirit stones for the talismans, so he could only sell cheap labor. But Wang Fengnian was very moved when he saw Chen Mo busy with him, and he never thought that this was because Chen Mo was running out of working capital and was anxious to start a business to fish for spirit stones. The noise of the past few days also attracted Zhao Chengjue attention. He woke up from his daily sleep and stood aside to watch the excitement. He was too lazy to even gather some water spirit energy to fill the fish pond with water. After adding water, Chen Mo flicked his finger and shot out 8 or 9 water columns, which washed away the silt where the tributaries converged, and then stimulated the water spirit stones that had been buried in advance. At these node locations, due to the spirit gathering effect of the water spirit stones, many whirlpools appeared, driving the flow of nearby water bodies. After a while, the dead water in the entire base pond began to flow, forming a small circulating water system. It's amazing, Junior Brother Chen, although this simple water-flowing device is not even the lowest level formation, this exquisite method of burying spirit stones in a chain is not something that ordinary people can think of. Chen Mo didn't want to expose the amazing fact that he was already a senior spirit formation master with the help of the chip. He laughed and said this little cleverness is not worth mentioning and dealt with it vaguely. Chen Mo began to release fish fry and larvae and plant mulberry trees. Compared with the previous mud digging, this kind of small work was much easier. Soon, the base pond was arranged by Chen Mo. The base pond was alive. As the only source of income, the larvae of the ghost fire ants did not get restless because of the change to a strange environment. On the contrary, they rolled around in the newly loosened yin mud and nibbled on the fallen yinling mulberry leaves. They were obviously very satisfied with the ecological environment in the goo room. I am more and more confident that you can turn the farm from loss to profit. Zhao Chengjue watched the whole process, exclaimed, then yawned, and went back to sleep. There's only one last step left. Chen Mo pondered, took out the consultation spirit disc from his arms, and with a stroke of his finger, left a flamboyant slogan on its smooth surface, Extra. Gushy Insect Farm has now opened the ordering business for ghost fire ants. As long as you pay the spirit stone in advance, you can get a 3rd-level key training insect beast after the larvae mature. This is a rare opportunity and should not be missed. In addition, during the growth of the larvae, subscribers can choose 4 different nutritional packages A, B, C, and D according to their personal preferences, corresponding to the hardness of the shell, acid corrosiveness, vitality, and ferocity, respectively, to improve the special abilities of the ghost fire ants. In recent days, there are many fellow disciples who consult Chen Mo about the book reading in the Sutra library. In addition to gaining contribution points, he has also won the reputation of the first 100 knowers. Although in the magic sect that advocates combat effectiveness, this title of erudite scholar is not worth mentioning, but Chen Mo has the trust of others and has a good reputation. By using the consulting spirit disc to promote the farm, Chen Mo used his reputation as the first 100 knower as a guarantee to attract a group of fellow disciples to pay a deposit. In this way, Chen Mo would not be so tight on money. Sure enough, in less than half a cup of tea, a little white light lit up on the consulting spirit disc, indicating that someone had paid the contribution points. Most people did not ask questions, and even asked to inspect the ghost fire ant larvae they adopted. Obviously, they all trusted Chen Mo and knew that with his extensive knowledge, at the very least, He could raise the insects safely to maturity. Chen Mo counted the clusters of white light on the consulting spirit disk, which symbolized the contribution points, and was very happy. He inspected the base pond again, pinched his fingers to write a cloud, and left the goo room. This was the first time Chen Mo used the cloud flying technique to travel, and he even raised the altitude to see the mountains. Stepping on the slightly cool dark clouds, Chen Mo flew up the clouds and gradually rose in altitude. The small woods and mudflats under his feet became smaller and smaller. He even had the idea that he could come and go freely in the vast sky as long as he had a thought. Beep. Alarm, the concentration of dark clouds has decreased. Above 1,000 meters, the concentration of yin spiritual energy has dropped drastically. With the host's Qi Yuan, it can still support 1,000 breaths. It is recommended to lower the altitude immediately. However, the cold reminder of the chip broke Chen Mo's wishful thinking. He could only honestly lower the altitude and fly to a cave at the bottom of the sea cliff. Along the way, because the speed of the cloud flying technique was only equivalent to that of an ordinary warhorse, Chen Mo was overtaken by a series of fellow disciples and also saw various flying tools. A disciple drove a green-faced and fanged human-faced bat, and whistled away in the squeak neighing of the mount. Someone stepped on a pitch-black magic sword and stood proudly in the air, with the spirit of a sword cultivator who said, "The vast sky, I can traverse it with one sword." Of course, there were also people who used the cloud flying technique to travel like Chen Mo, and because of the different properties of the spiritual veins, the clouds under their feet were colorful, representing various spiritual factors such as the 5 elements. However, many disciples' cloud driving techniques were really unbearable to the eyes, and they were unworthy of the name of the demon sex demon cubs. The latest novels were first published on the 69th book bar. The clouds were unstable, and during the flight, a trace of spiritual energy was scattered from time to time, which required constant magic replenishment. The worst were those whose clouds under their feet collapsed directly and fell directly from mid-air. Moreover, in the rush, they had no time to cast the spell again, and fell to the bottom. If it weren't for the fact that there was a turbulent sea under their feet and their physical fitness was also strong, they would have fallen directly from the sky. Chen Mo then discovered how powerful the data storage and transmission function of the chip was. The optimized spell model was firmly engraved in Chen Mo's mind. When he cast it, it was as simple as walking and drinking water. The only thing that needed a little practice was to control the spell after casting. But in any case, compared with ordinary Kigen practitioners, Chen Mo had saved the tedious steps of understanding the casting principle, memorizing the spell model, and constructing the spell. If it is spread out, a 9-orifice spirit body qualification assessment is indispensable. The spiritual vein is a qualification assessment method for the affinity of spiritual energy, but it cannot cover all the talents of practitioners. Therefore, there is also the saying of spiritual body, but the spiritual body cannot be tested by technical means. It is more like an experience. For example, the 9-orifice spiritual body is a complement to the natural caster. This kind of practitioners master the spell very quickly. Even the lowest level windblade spell can play arc flight routes, midway windblade splitting and other tricks in their hands. In addition, there are spiritual bodies unique to sword cultivators, such as the transparent sword body and the sword controlling spiritual body. The owner can drive the sword-shaped talisman like an arm. Therefore, with the chip's support, Chen Mo can be regarded as the owner of a top-level 9-orifice spirit body. It was only the first time that Chen Mo used the cloud flying technique to travel high in the sky, but his performance was second to none among his peers. Chen Mo could not surpass the human-faced bat and the magic sword, but he could easily surpass the unstable clouds. After a while, he arrived at the blood clothes building, which was responsible for handling the delivery of various contribution points. Chapter 27, Little Guy, You Are in Trouble. The entrance of the blood clothes building is at the bottom of the sea cliff, and the narrow passage winds down all the way into the ground. Although the name contains the word building, the blood clothes building is not a building built after digging out the ground, like the Sutra Library, but a general term for the underground caves at the bottom of the sea cliff. The specific number of floors is unknown, and even the Sutra Library has no record. Chen Mo chose a main road, with many winding branches on both sides, and from time to time, dusty inner and outer disciples appeared and disappeared from these branches. There is a forbidden air formation here, so everyone put away all kinds of flying tools and walked honestly. In addition, there is more than one road leading to the blood clothes building. Chen Mo walked all the way to the door of the blood clothes building and passed by many disciples from different directions. The chip counted a full 208 tributaries, which shows the complexity and mystery of the magic cave. If an outside enemy who is not familiar with the inside story invades, this underground magic cave alone can make the invading enemy dizzy and be easily divided and eliminated. As he went deeper, Chen Mo smelled a faint salty smell of seawater, and realized that there was an ocean outside the rock layer, and the concentration of water spirit energy had increased significantly. But after looking at the chip's analysis of the environment, Chen Mo found that the water vapor in the air actually contained an abnormal concentration of blood components. He couldn't help but feel terrified, and felt that the name of the blood clothes building was particularly strange. As soon as he arrived at the door, Chen Mo's doubts were also answered. Two fine iron doors appeared in front of him. The left door was engraved with a bright red prison, which was dyed red by fresh blood. After sampling and comparison, the chip concluded that the blood component in the air came from this big blood word. The door was half open and half closed, revealing the dark passage behind it. From time to time, shrill sounds came out from it, which made the listeners shudder. Chen Mo couldn't help but stop. "Little guy, this is your first time to the blood clothes building, don't be scared by this blood prison." A hoarse voice suddenly sounded beside him. It came from another fine iron door on the right. Looking closely, it turned out that a stone statue of an ape carved on it opened its scarlet eyes. The stone monkey shook off the dirt on its body and turned to Chen Mo. "Ling. An inscribed creature was found. It has an unknown force field and unknown energy level. It is extremely dangerous. It is recommended that the host keep a distance. Inscriptions are considered a branch of formations. Through reasonable arrangement and combination, they can attract free spiritual energy and give the inscribed person unique magical abilities. The crudest is the physical inscription that burns the lifespan of the warrior and increases his strength. However, the inscription on the stone monkey in front of him is extremely exquisite. Every stroke is natural and finally converges on its forehead to form an eye that seems to be open and closed. The stone monkey was originally a piece of spiritual stone of heaven and earth. With the help of the inscription, it was born with intelligence and transformed into a monkey. Then it was taken to the demon gate as a spiritual beast guarding the blood clothes building. It smiled strangely, opened its stone eyes, and shot out a dark light from them, looking up and down at Chen Mo. "Ling. Scanned by an unknown force field, host is advised not to act rashly." The light flashed and disappeared. Chen Mo felt a chill all over his body, and then he saw the stone monkey close his eyes again. It smacked its lips, as if it had collected a unique scent from Chen Mo and was savoring it carefully. Finally, it licked its lips with satisfaction and said to Chen Mo, "The test passed, no problem, enter the door under me, and you will reach the place where you can exchange contribution points." Then, the stone monkey showed two sharp fangs and said to Chen Mo meaningfully, "When I'm not around in the future, don't go into the gate of the blood prison on the left. There are all kinds of demons and monsters imprisoned in it, and the sect's prohibitions may not be able to protect you." At this time, an inner sect disciple with half of his body stained with blood passed by Chen Mo. He carried a torn sack on his right shoulder, which seemed to contain a twisting humanoid creature. He took out a copper plate and shone it on the gate of the blood prison, and then he walked in. The stone monkey took a quick glance and explained to Chen Mo, "This is the Kainilan spy that the discipline hall just caught. Now, he has to be sent to the blood prison for severe punishment." Then, it closed its one eye and told Chen Mo, "You have a familiar human smell, belonging to a little guy who didn't know better. He has been in big trouble recently. I see that you have already reached the second level of key training when you just got started. You should not be the same kind of person as that little guy, but it's better to go to Deacon Wei to explain and prove your innocence." Chen Mo was shocked and found that the stone monkey's detection ability was really meticulous. After breaking through the second level of key training, in order to keep a low profile, Chen Mo also specially performed the key retaining technique to restrain the yin spiritual energy that was emanating from his body, but he didn't expect that the stone monkey could see it at a glance. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. As for the chip, it has merged with Chen Mo's soul. Even with the stone monkey's fiery eyes, he couldn't see any clues, so Chen Mo was relieved. Originally, Chen Mo wanted to be modest about his achievements in just a few months of cultivation, but he keenly caught the meaning of trouble from the stone monkey's words, and immediately took out the only 5 low-level spirit stones left in the storage bag to bribe the stone monkey. "May I ask, Senior, what crime have I committed, and who is Deacon Wei?" But the stone monkey swallowed his saliva, put on a kind face, and smiled at Chen Mo. "You are a smart little guy. I have been guarding here for 3 decades, and so many people have come and gone, but I haven't received any tribute. But you, wow, you have a future." But the stone monkey did not accept Chen Mo's tribute. Instead, he imprinted a mysterious light on Chen Mo's stone chamber bronze plate and ordered, "As a guardian spirit beast, I can't bring myself to do the dirty things of taking bribes. But I accept your kindness. Since you want to prove your innocence, I will help you again in this matter and give you a chance to earn contribution points." Afterwards, the stone monkey asked Chen Mo to hold the token and go to the Blood Robe building to find Steward Wei, but he did not leave any more details. He closed his one eye and turned into a stone statue on the door again. Chen Mo was worried, but he also knew that if the stone monkey wanted to harm him, he would have no way to deal with it. He could only bite the bullet and step into the door. "Alice, what's the matter? I was originally answering questions and earning contribution points, raising insects to get rich. How could such troubles come from the sky?" Chen Mo sighed and felt sad. Fortunately, the chip analyzed from the stone monkey's words that Chen Mo's probability of trouble was only 12%. It should be that he was affected by others, so he had to find Steward Wei to prove his innocence. After searching all the Blood Robe sect precepts, the host has not violated any of them and is not in danger of life. Otherwise, when practicing in the stone room, someone from the discipline hall will knock on the door and ask you to go to the blood prison to drink spiritual tea. Please relax. Chen Mo trusted the judgment of the chip very much, adjusted his mentality, and tried to create a typical image of a demon cub in front of Steward Wei, striving for leniency. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28: The Apostate. As soon as one foot stepped into the gate, Chen Mo was in a trance. When he recovered, he found himself in a hall. There was a lot of noise. The inner and outer disciples dressed in various strange costumes lined up like busy worker ants, moving forward inch by inch. The lucky ones at the head of the line placed their newly obtained task items in front of the half-person high stone platforms. Even if the monster prey was huge, as long as a part of its body touched the edge of the stone platform, it would be covered by a layer of light gray light and then disappear without a trace. After handing over the task items, the demon cubs would also take out their identity bronze medals and look at the contribution points on it with satisfaction. If you want to exchange for any materials with contribution points, it is also very simple. On the stone platform pillars less than 1 meter high, the information of various items scrolled in turn. As long as you reach out and click, you can know the corresponding exchange contribution points. If you point a bronze medal at an item, a crisp ding-ling sound will be heard, exactly the same as the sound of gold coins colliding in a purse. Then, the corresponding exchange items will appear on the stone platform. Some inner disciples who wrapped themselves tightly in black robes obviously didn't want others to know what treasures they exchanged. They also deliberately added a low-level spiritual stone and selected storage talismans as a simple way to store them. They only took a talisman and left quietly. The whole process was extremely fast, and no one knew who was behind these teleportation arrays. Chen Mo only observed for a few breaths and saw that hundreds of tasks and exchanges had been completed. After the end, no one questioned it. Suddenly, Chen Mo felt hot in his arms. He took it out and saw that it was the bronze plate in the stone chamber that was vibrating slightly, emitting low heat to remind Chen Mo. A faint arrow shadow appeared on its surface, pointing to a secret room on the left side of the hall. Outside the secret room door hung a wooden sign engraved with Deacon Wei. Chen Mo took a deep breath and pushed the door, but found that the wooden door with rotten edges did not move at all. At this time, the bronze plate emitted a mysterious light again, hitting the door, and the wooden door opened with a clang. The mark left by the stone monkey on the bronze plate was the certificate for entering the door. It seems that the stone monkey has a high authority over the restrictions of the entire Blood Clothes building. Without its approval, the outer disciples can't take a single step here. The wooden door slammed shut behind him, and Chen Mo realized that the Wei deacon who held his life in his hands was actually the middle-aged man in black who had seized the gray whale of the righteous path. He was sitting cross-legged on a cushion, holding a white maggot in his hand, teasing it carefully, and finally stuffing it back into his teeth. Wei Deacon's love for this white worm was exactly the same as when Chen Mo first saw him that day. "Oh, the little guy introduced by King Shishi? It seems that he wants you to deal with the little fellow from the same hometown. It's rare that a stone monkey can be kind." Deacon Wei took out a large stack of papers from his sleeves, and with a wave of his hand, they floated neatly into Chen Mo's hands. Looking closely, the first page was the personal information that Chen Mo filled out before the test of the qualification of the cross-sea giant ship. The handwriting on it was flying and dancing, and the signature was specially designed by Chen Mo on the chip. Every stroke was full of fairy spirit and attracted people's attention. Chen Mo's hand trembled and he almost couldn't hold the stack of papers. He didn't expect that the people from the demon sect had not only robbed the biological power gray whale and more than half of the new blood of the righteous gray whale, but also took away this unimportant personal information. Noticing Chen Mo's surprise, Steward Wei said, "King Shishi is the stone monkey guarding the gate. It was it that recommended you this good job of proving your innocence. As for the origin of its name, it is also interesting. When it was still a stone spirit, it once secretly ran to a mountain temple, fooled the mortals passing by for fun, and gave itself this ridiculous title of king. It's a pity that the Kyanigan Empire banned all demons and monsters, and the people from the Locking Immortals department took the imperial edict and almost revealed its true form. If the sect master hadn't passed by and collected the demon stone, it would have been scared to death by now." Then, Steward Wei asked Chen Mo to take out Ren Jun's personal information page, take a good look at it, and explain the reason for the matter. As for the stone monkey's so-called self-proof of innocence, it's mostly a joke. The offender it mentioned is actually this fellow countryman from the subcontinent like you. He joined our magic sect, but instead of practicing Qi well, he was concerned about martial arts and flirted with a spy from the Kyanigan Empire, violating the third of our 3 major precepts. Chen Mo glanced at Ren Jun and saw his strength as a 5th-grade divine warrior, and he remembered this fellow countryman who he had met once. Coincidentally, on the huge cross-sea ship, Chen Mo had been living a solitary single life, and the only people he was familiar with were the 18 people who came out of the various countries together. Next, it was Ren Jun's turn. Back then, he had a big fight with Hu Byeguang over the matter of his female companion Linger. Although he was defeated miserably, it also left a deep impression on Chen Mo. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. As for the power of Hu Byeguang's ancestral talisman, it made Chen Mo give up the idea of reaching the top of the 9th level of martial arts. Among the fellow countrymen who were abducted to the demon sect in this batch of continents, in addition to Chu Zijin, Chen Mo also knew Ren Jun, Hu Byeguang, and Linger, the 3 protagonists of the peach-colored storm. With Ren Jun's talent of waste spirit veins, even in the demon sect where all resources must be fought for, his cultivation progress is the slowest among all the new blood of the same period. Chen Mo secretly speculated. Unfortunately, Hu Byeguang, who had a grudge against Ren Jun, had an excellent talent of the 9th spirit vein, and must have already entered the 3rd level of Qi training. Facing Hu Byeguang, who possessed the ancestral talisman, Ren Jun could no longer protect his female companion, so he turned to Long Ting's secret agent for help, hoping to fight back with his outstanding martial arts talent. Thinking of this, Chen Mo clenched the paper in his hand, his expression heavy. Qualification is really the eternal pain of low-level Kigan practitioners. It has only been less than half a year since they started practicing, and some people can't stand the snail-like practice speed. Seeing Chen Mo's thoughtful look, Steward Wei thought that he and Ren Jun had a friendship, and his voice became cold. "Why, you can't do it because of the old relationship? Don't forget what we taught in the first lesson of the entry. Those who surrender to the Kyanigan court will have their souls extracted and their spirits refined." Steward Wei directly suppressed him with the iron law of the sect, and without saying much, he threw a roll of bamboo slips to Chen Mo and let him retreat. The above is the scene of the meeting between this traitor and the hidden man. The stone monkey's natural one eye secretly recorded it. You just cripple the 2 and take them to the soul lamp steel. Not wanting to waste any more time with Chen Mo, Wei Deacon waved his sleeves, and Chen Mo was enveloped by a gloomy wind and taken out of the secret room. The wooden door closed heavily behind him, and the chip's reminder sounded at the right time, helping Chen Mo to taste something bad. Ling. The host spent too much time thinking about the reason why Ren Jun betrayed the sect and lamenting the difficulty of practicing Qi, which caused Wei Deacon to misunderstand and left a very bad first impression on him, so he was kicked out. Chen Mo smiled bitterly, and then he saw the strange character of Wei Deacon, a cultivator in the magic power stage of the magic sect. Even compared with a bloodthirsty Guzai, Wei Deacon's temperament is much kinder, but this does not mean that he is a reasonable person. The high level of the magic sect, the magic power stage, in terms of the weird and changeable nature, how can it be inferior to the group of demon cubs in the key training stage below? Deacon Wei, you think you are such a dictator. Forget it, I won't explain. Anyway, I won't ask you for help in the future. Chen Mo was tough and had no intention of knocking on the door to explain. Chapter 29, Eliminate the Rebels. Chen Mo put the bamboo slip he had just obtained on his forehead. Ling. Data interface detected, information collection started. After the chip processing optimization, the scene contained in the bamboo slip appeared more vivid. Chen Mo witnessed the secret meeting between Ren Jun and a warrior servant in the grove from the perspective of a bystander. Ren Jun's bald head was full of sweat, and he was obviously very nervous. After all, the punishment of extracting souls and refining spirits by the demon sect was not a decoration. What are you afraid of? This is out of the radiation range of the mountain gate. No one knows. The contact person said disdainfully, I have been undercover for more than 10 years and have not been discovered. What is this small scene? He was wearing a gray coat and his temples were gray. He was also an acquaintance of Chen Mo who had taken a ride with him. He was an old servant warrior who operated a leech to ferry disciples to the Heiai mountain gate. He changed his previous submissive attitude when facing the Kigan disciples in the sect. He had a stern face and scolded Ren Jun in a rough voice. With your flustered personality, how can you work for Longting? Ren Jun didn't want to say more. He spread his hands and asked coldly, give me the quick method to make the 6th grade martial arts liquid. The servant, however, looked calm and composed, and replied lightly, first, hand over the scriptures you copied secretly from the sutra library. Of course, there was a third party peeping at the transaction scene, the stone monkey. It possessed a grovel under the feet of the two people, with one eye open. Due to the magical power of possession and manifestation, the stone monkey added a fine texture to the surface of the small stone, which was a flaw that was not a flaw. Because only under the 100-fold magnification of the chip can it be seen that this texture is the shape of an eye, and it does not belong to any natural gravel. However, with the eyesight of Renjun and the servant, two warriors, it is impossible to find it. The stone monkey muttered to himself, that's it? I, the king of Shishi, have been monitoring you for more than 10 years, but in the end, instead of luring the big fish you caught, I am here to enjoy the little scene of this stupid fish biting the hook. The stone monkey was very dissatisfied, and even caused the stone that possessed him to tremble slightly. Of course, such a small movement could not be detected by the strength of the two warriors. It's gone. This secret line that has been following for more than 10 years is useless. Let's change to another one to play with. The stone monkey sighed in frustration and closed his single eye. The picture also disappeared. Ling. Analysis completed. Gray-clothed servant, 6th grade condensation warrior, essence 5.1, internal breath 4.1, carrying a mysterious item containing dragon energy. Dangerous? It is recommended that the host carefully plan a plan of ambush. The reminder of the chip made Chen Mo give up the idea of direct capture. The 6th grade condensation warrior can already transform the gaseous internal breath into liquid, and the quality has been improved by more than one level. Although it has not reached the power of the 7th grade condensation warrior's 100 steps divine fist, it can also be released to hurt the enemy. If Chen Mo didn't have time to release the backer tortoise armor to protect himself, he would be injured by the servant's internal energy within 10 steps. Young people are better than Old Wang. Old Wang is like the servant. His blood and ki are declining. He may not be able to withstand the combined attack of Ren Jun and the servant alone. It seems that I have to find a helper. Chen Mo thought, and then the name of Hu Byeguang popped up in his mind. Although they are from the same hometown, Chen Mo and Ren Jun have no friendship at all. Now he only regards him as a source of contribution points for the sect. Therefore, in order to ensure the success of the mission, Chen Mo took action and showed no mercy. Hu Byeguang coveted Ren Jun's female companion. He would not miss the opportunity to eliminate his love rival once and for all. Ling. Simulated battle situation, Ren Jun and the servant died. Hu Byeguang had a 45% chance of serious injury, Wang Feng had an 87% chance of injury, and the host had an 89% chance of no injury. Chen Mo smiled. Why exchange for a one-time protective talisman? Isn't Hu Byeguang already made meat shield? 3 days later, On a dark and windy night, Chen Mo, Wang Fengnian, and Hu Buguang waited in a small forest in a triangular shape. Hu Buguang, who has the qualification of 9 spiritual veins and always looks down on others, gave Chen Mo some face in this matter and agreed to help without compensation, on the condition that the job of punishing Ren Jun must be left to him. Chen Mo naturally agreed. Where can I find a meat shield without spiritual stones and contribution points? After waiting for a long time, no one was seen. Hu Buguang was weak and could not stand the biting cold wind in the middle of the night. Chen Mo, why hasn't Ren Jun, the warrior, come yet? Did you miscalculate? Hu Buguang shook the red copper ring in his hand and complained. In order to retain the human shield, Chen Mo could only patiently comfort him. The information was given to me by the stone monkey senior who guards the blood robe tower. With his natural one and the ability to monitor the sect, he can't be wrong. Chen Mo could only pull up the tiger skin of the guardian spirit beast of the supernatural power period without blushing or beating his heart, and he managed to suppress Hu Buguang. He rubbed his hands, and then lay on the ground cursing and waiting. Ren Jun, you bastard, made me suffer the cold wind alone. When you fall into my hands, I will definitely make you pay. Hu Buguang seemed to hate Ren Jun deeply, and Chen Mo was not worried that he would not work hard. Ling. A slight vibration of the ground is detected. After analyzing the vibration frequency, it is the aftermath of 2 humans stepping on the ground. According to the body size and mass, the probability that the people coming are Ren Jun and the handyman is 84%. It is recommended that the host be vigilant. Someone is coming, be quiet. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo whispered to Hu Buguang, then condensed the Qi Yuan and performed the breath-concealing technique on the 3 people. A layer of yin spiritual energy that is imperceptible to the naked eye surrounds the 3 people, which has the effect of absorbing sound waves, concealing the breathing and heartbeat of the 3 people to the minimum. At the same time, the cold feeling of the yin spiritual energy also conceals the body temperature of the 3 people. Therefore, even in the thermal imaging view of the chip, the area where Chen Mo and the other 2 were lying on the ground is the same as the rest of the grove. The footsteps are getting closer and closer. Ren Jun and the handyman arrived at the same time and quickly exchanged the classics in their hands. A traitor to the sect must be killed by everyone. Hu Buguang saw the person coming and jumped out of the bushes first, regardless of Chen Mo's instructions. With a wave of the red copper ring, a cluster of flames the size of a human head appeared out of thin air and flew towards Ren Jun. Ling. Hu Buguang, Key Training Level 3, Jing Yuan 2.1, Qi Yuan 3.9. As expected of the outstanding qualifications of the 9 spirit veins, in less than half a year, Hu Buguang has already touched the threshold of the 4th level of key training. Looking at his casting speed, it is more than 1 level faster than the first time he fought with Ren Jun. Obviously, he is not a scum who has cultivation but can't use strength. Hu Buguang took the initiative to attack from the bushes, and by the time Ren Jun reacted, it was too late. His hair stood on end, and he felt that the breath of the god of death had touched his eyebrows. Ren Jun's eyes widened, and he tried his best to move his feet and leave the coverage of the flames. But the oncoming fireball, like a spell that draws people in, attracted Ren Jun's eyes, and his body was so heavy that he couldn't move at all. You crude warrior, how can you imagine the exquisiteness of my Hu family's ancestral talisman? Hu Buguang seemed to have seen Ren Jun's miserable end with his skin torn and flesh exposed, and laughed wildly 100 steps away. Although he had the upper hand, he still rationally maintained a safe distance, confident that even the 100-step divine fist of a 7th-grade condensation warrior could not touch him. Ling. Detect the strength of the talisman's flame force field, energy level. 4 degrees, dangerous, and with a stun effect. Note, degrees, is the energy fully released by a unit of standard Qi Yuan, and the power will change after being amplified by the free spiritual energy factor in the environment. Chen Mo estimated the distance and realized that Ren Jun would definitely not be able to dodge this slowly floating fireball. In addition, he also noticed that during the floating of the fireball, a small spark split off, gathering a trace of free fire spiritual energy, and shooting at the servant beside Ren Jun. HMPH, a new blood who just joined the team, relying on a talisman, dares to be so arrogant. The servant seemed to be unaffected by the dizzy force field of the fireball. He snorted coldly, and a pale yellow talisman with a dragon pattern appeared in front of him. He touched the paper with his finger. The talisman turned into a snake-shaped electric light, and like a shark smelling blood, It rushed straight towards the oncoming Mars. Chapter 30. The dragon spirit appears again. The pale yellow tail flame of the snake-shaped lightning wrapped around the sparks, and then continued to move forward, hitting the fireball that was floating towards Ren Jun, and shattered it. The fireball broke into pieces, but the scattered parts strangely did not hit Ren Jun's face, only scratching his arm with 2 burnt yellow flame marks. Ling. The dragon energy force field is detected, which can eliminate single attack type spells below 5 degrees. The comparative analysis is over. It is a subspecies of the real dragon energy, Jialong energy. It is speculated that Jialong energy belongs to vassal king on the border of the Kyanitian Empire. The snake-shaped lightning that saved Ren Jun also showed its original form, but it turned into a broken talisman. It slowly fell to the ground, the light on the surface was dim, and it could no longer be used. What are you still standing there for? Kill people to silence them. Under the cold shout of the warrior servant, Ren Jun woke up from the great sorrow and joy of escaping death, gritted his teeth and rushed towards Hu Guang. Mixed with new and old hatreds, Ren Jun actually burst out at the fastest speed in his life. As his internal breath flowed, it even had a tendency to liquefy, and the speed kept increasing. Alarm! Ren Jun's internal breath value has fluctuated abnormally, and his essence is decreasing. Under the dynamic capture field of view, Ren Jun turned into a light blue 3D data model in Chen Mo's eyes. It can be clearly seen that there is a group of mist surging violently in his danshan. In the blink of an eye, a drop of liquid internal breath condensed. At the same time, the bulging muscles of Ren Jun's forearms and thighs shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. When refining essence into qi, there is no external energy to supplement, and one can only consume one's own flesh and blood. Before Ren Jun rushed to Hu Guang, he had already turned into a lean rib spirit, and the essence value dropped directly from 8 to 5.3. However, Hu Guang was not panicked at all. Instead, he showed a sarcastic smile and placed a red copper ring across his chest. A bright yellow fire circle spread out from the copper ring, and finally covered Hu Guang's whole body, and expanded all the way, just in time to hit Ren Jun, who had just rushed to him. Taste the ecstasy of the red lotus cover. However, before he finished speaking, Hu Guang swallowed his smug laughter like a drake with its neck pinched. Ren Jun's flesh and blood did not melt as he expected, but he squeezed half of his body into the red lotus cover with difficulty. At the contact point, the bright yellow flame made a sizzling sound and was extinguished inch by inch. As a disciple of the demon sect, you actually use spiritual weapons and degenerate yourself. Ren Jun's upper clothes turned into gray smoke, revealing a palm-sized heart-protecting mirror on his chest. Under the urging of Ren Jun's almost liquefied internal energy, the bronze spiritual weapon, against the high-temperature flames of the red lotus cover, opened a narrow crack of half a meter long and 1 palm wide. Ren Jun burned his essence and turned it into liquid internal energy. His strong body became 50% thinner and shorter. At this time, he used the bone shrinking skill again. Before the crack disappeared, he leaned sideways and lowered his head, squeezing the remaining half of his body into the red lotus cover. The enemy was only separated by a red copper ring, and Hu Guang had no time to perform the second spell. His skin was burnt black, but Ren Jun didn't say a word. He stretched out his right hand, and his 5 fingers were like swords, stabbing at the vital part of Hu Guang's neck. What's more terrifying is that Ren Jun's 5 fingertips each condensed a blue sword light, emitting a breathtaking cold light. Ling. Ren Jun has exhausted the last bit of internal energy, and his essence has dropped to 2.1. He is in a weak period after the outbreak, and there is no danger. Chen Mo naturally couldn't watch Hu Guang die in front of him. Before Ren Jun's 5 fingers pierced into his flesh and blood, he shot an arrow, which was shot later but arrived first. The cold arrowhead puffed and pierced Ren Jun's right palm. The sword passed by his face, leaving only a shallow scratch, and Hu Guang breathed a sigh of relief. He saved his life, but he never dared to underestimate the close-range explosive power of warriors again. A 5th-grade divine warrior has 1,000 pounds of divine power and is as strong as a galloping horse. As long as they catch a chance to get close, even a Kigan practitioner may be covered in blood. However, Chen Mo's cold arrow made Ren Jun fail. His eyes showed deep regret, and he fiercely scratched Chen Mo, who had appeared. Although the arrow was not a talisman, it was attached with a yin spiritual energy released by Chen Mo. It spread along Ren Jun's right palm and eroded most of his body. Ren Jun, who had already suffered high-temperature burns, had a darker skin and dark red blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth. The cold poison of the yin spiritual energy entered his body, and Ren Jun did not have enough internal breath to offset the damage. He collapsed to the ground and lost his combat effectiveness. If the remaining poison is not removed in time, not only will the body decay, but the yin spirit will also corrode the danshan, and the internal breath will be completely destroyed. Hu Byeguang saw Ren Jun's face turn blue, and glanced at Chen Mo with fear. Although Ren Jun has not yet cultivated the Qi Yuan, his internal breath alone has limited resistance to the yin spirit. But if you were to let the yin spirit invade the Qi Si, he would not be able to hold out for long. Although the yin attribute magic is not as explosive as my fire magic, this cold poison of the tarsal maggot is really insidious and kills people invisibly. I can't afford to offend. I can't afford to offend. Hu Byeguang no longer dared to underestimate Chen Mo because of his outstanding qualifications of the Fire 9 spirit veins. He carefully thought about the process of their getting along, and found that he had never verbally disdained him, so he was relieved. It turns out that he is a waste who can't do anything but make trouble. 3 enemies jumped out of the bushes one after another. The gray-robed servant's eyelids twitched, knowing that today was a bad day. Seeing the familiar figure of Wang Fengnian again, he cursed angrily. Well, old Wang, it turned out that you betrayed me. Do you really want to flatter the master of the Kigan practitioner? Don't forget that in the eyes of these demon disciples, the lives of warriors like us are as cheap as ants. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. He also did not forget to sow discord. Your new master will not help you solve the old injuries of Qi and blood decline. Instead, he will tempt you to do drug experiments while you are still strong. For such a master, you still work hard for him. Zhao Chengjue, open your eyes and take a good look. However, Wang Fengnian was unmoved, and used his internal energy to refute the servant Zhao Chengjue's talk of no Ji with his actions. A layer of white light appeared around Wang Fengnian, which was the iconic protective key of a 7th grade condensation warrior. After months of medication, Wang Fengnian has recovered to his peak state in his prime. The fact that he can now support the protective key covering his entire body is the best proof. Zhao Chengjue's face darkened by 3 points. Even if he doesn't consider Chen Mo and Hu Byeguang who are on the side, he is no match for old Wang alone. Ling. Wang Fengnian, Essence. 7.1, Internal Breath. 7.4. Although Wang Fengnian didn't have a good spiritual weapon, he could still use his protective key as a human shield to resist attacks from spells below the 4th level. It was no problem for him to deal with a mere 6th grade condensation elder. With him by his side, Chen Mo's safety was greatly improved. Ling. Unknown fluctuations of the dragon energy field on Zhao Chengjue's body are detected. Please be alert. As words could not shake Wang Fengnian's determination to fight for his life, Zhao Chengjue sighed deeply, took out the last dragon energy talisman, and showed a painful expression. With a sizzling sound, the talisman was torn apart, and a dragon phantom appeared from it. With a majestic roar, the dragon phantom tightly entangled Wang Fengnian's limbs, making him unable to move. The ferocious dragon opened its mouth and sprayed out a yellow light, which also enveloped Chen Mo and Hu Byeguang. Ling. Affected by the dragon energy field, the Sea of Qi is in a sealed state, and the key can't be used. The unsealing time is 3 minutes. Looking inside, Chen Mo's Sea of Qi was blocked by a thin yellow mist, and his perception of the key in it was instantly cut off. He couldn't even use the simplest water-gathering technique. Turning his head, Hu Byeguang was even more miserable. His face was pale, and his key couldn't be used. He felt that his body was empty, and he didn't even have the strength to stand. Your 2.1 essence is wasted. You can't even withstand such a small blow. Chen Mo cursed Hu Byeguang for being useless. At this time, Zhao Chengjue had already rushed up with a grin, and Chen Mo could only face him alone. Chapter 31 Don't Play with Others. Zhao Chengjue was secretly delighted when he saw Chen Mo rushing up to him with such momentum. He is a new blood with limited experience after all. The silence time of the Jialong Key technique is only 3 minutes, and the binding effect on warriors is similar. You don't delay time to wait for Lao Wang to rescue you, but you think I can kill him alone. It's ridiculous. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the two was less than 50 steps. Zhao Chengjue was confident. He tightened his chest and abdomen, took a deep breath, and then roared, "Since you are in a hurry to reincarnate, I will help you." In addition to this lane roar, Zhao Chengjue also glared at Chen Mo with his eyes, releasing the resentment he had endured for more than 10 years in the demon sect. The youngster who has never seen blood will definitely be taken away by my thunderous roar and let me slaughter him. Zhao Chengjue has personally experienced a bloody battlefield, and he is absolutely confident that he can intimidate a mere demon cub who has just entered the sect. Boy, where's the person? The pride in his heart had not yet faded, but the prey that was delivered to his door suddenly disappeared from Zhao Chengjue's sight. At the same time, the sixth sense honed in the life and death struggle warned him frantically. Zhao Chengjue did not bother to think about it and instinctively rolled on the ground. Swish! A cold light flashed past his neck. With a glimpse from the corner of his eye, Zhao Chengjue saw a feather arrow that was half inserted into the soil. When he touched his neck, there was a trace of scarlet blood. Hey, old man, what are you looking at? Chen Mo's frivolous mocking voice came from the branch of an ancient tree. Zhao Chengjue looked in the direction of the voice and trembled with anger. This kid was actually sitting leisurely on a branch 100 meters away, swinging his legs leisurely and elegantly, and the bowstring of the longbow beside him was still trembling slightly. It's just a small trick that was set up in advance, and you can't even see through it. Tisk. Chen Mo pointed at the place where he was standing, and saw a wisp of black mist rising there, and it even formed a mirror in the air. After 3 or 4 breaths, the blurry black mist mirror disappeared. The preset Yinling mirror technique has completely dissipated because the host's Qi is sealed by the dragon key and cannot replenish Qi Yuan in real time. With Zhao Chengjue's poor knowledge, he couldn't understand such a subtle trick. This is just a simple application of Yinling Qi to the refraction of light. By condensing an illusory mirror, the scene of Chen Mo running backwards was flipped and projected in front of Zhao Chengjue. Because Zhao Chengjue was thinking about how to kill Chen Mo during the battle, he didn't pay attention to the background details in the image. Therefore, he naively thought that Chen Mo was running towards him, and was very happy about his behavior of falling into the trap. At this time, the distance between the two was more than 100 steps. A mere 6th grade condensation liquid warrior could not perform a 100-step divine fist. Zhao Chengjue had no way to deal with Chen Mo, and even had to be careful of the arrows he shot. Little brother, how about this? Tonight, you just pretend that you have never seen me, and just capture Renjun to claim the credit. When I return to the Kainitan Empire, I will send someone to give you the Spirit Stone. Zhao Chengjue was afraid that Chen Mo would not believe him, so he sold a lot of information about the Kainitan Empire in exchange for trust, and also made a lot of exaggerated promises. Kangshao, the closest city to the Blood Robe sect, has a large number of Spirit Stone mines. With a pitiful number of key cultivating practitioners in the Locking Immortals division, they will not be able to use up all of them in 8 lifetimes. I have a way to smuggle the Spirit Stones across the border and bring truckloads of them to the Blood Robe sect to give to you. Chen Mo sneered disdainfully and thought to himself, it's more than 1,000 miles to Kangzhou, and you're sending me Spirit Stones from such a distance? Do you really think you can fly? However, he was also happy to delay time, waiting for the chip to unseal his Qi, so he put away his smile, nodded slightly, pretended to be interested, and motioned Zhao Chengjue to continue his performance. With a look of delight on his face, Zhao Chengjue cleared his throat and slowly said, although dragon energy repels spiritual energy, the Kainitan Empire is so large that there are always places where dragon energy is weak, forming countless spiritual energy resource points of all sizes. Even though Longting has sent various spies to monitor the world, search and destroy various immortal cultivation resources, and expressly prohibit the people from practicing immortal cultivation privately, there are always lucky people who have obtained skills, spiritual stones, and spiritual plant resources and have achieved success in practicing Qi. In addition, there are also Jianghu sects, wealthy merchants and gentry, and even local officials who secretly cultivate Qi practitioners. Therefore, as long as you find the right way, you can find a lot of cultivation resources in the Kainitan Empire. If you let me go back, we can continue to cooperate. You provide the classics in the Sutra library and I provide the resources. The efficiency is definitely higher than the cooperation between me and Renjun, a waste. Zhao Chengjue saw that Chen Mo fell into deep thought, and was secretly delighted. He pointed to Renjun, Hu Buguang, and Wang Fengnian, who were unable to move, and bewitched Chen Mo. What happened today? If we kill the 3 of them, then it will be known to heaven, earth, you and me. As long as we work together, I can climb up the immortal locking division with the scriptures in the Sutra library, and you, with a huge source of wealth, will surely achieve the stage of supernatural power and live for 300 years. Renjun, who was burned all over and poisoned, was so angry that his face turned red. Zhao Chengjue, as his partner, saw that the situation was not good and wanted to change his next customer. The latest novels are first published on Liuji 9 Shuba. You are a Choer's warrior, you are fickle and shameless. Ren Jun barely raised his index finger, wanting to poke Zhao Chengjue to death in the air. The key was sealed, and Hu Buguang, who fell to the ground, panicked and pale. In a hurry, he could not stand up, and could only persuade Chen Mo verbally, "Don't fall into this warrior's trap, Chen Mo, you have the best qualifications of the 7 spiritual veins. Even if you don't have many resources, you can successfully impact the divine power stage." Only Wang Fengnian was particularly firm in his position on Chen Mo. He didn't believe that an excellent new blood who could spend more than 100 low-level spiritual stones on the insect breeding farm would be deceived by this promise full of mistakes. In order to help Chen Mo faster, Wang Fengnian did not hesitate to forcibly stimulate his body's potential, intending to speed up the escape from the shackles of the dragon's key. The key was unsealed ahead of schedule, and the detailed parameters of the dragon's key force field have been collected. The next time you are suppressed by the same energy level force field, you can shorten the breakthrough time by 60%. The prompt of the chip interrupted Chen Mo and Zhao Chengjue's hypocrisy. If exchanging classics for resources is so simple, why doesn't the sect send someone to do this business? Anyway, there are a lot of less important techniques, skills, and secret techniques in the sutra library for people to read at will. Once he thought about it carefully, the beautiful future described by Zhao Chengjue became the empty talk of those with shallow knowledge. Feeling the key yuan in the key, Chen Mo stood up, bent his bow and arrowed, and shot 3 arrows in a row at the mud near Zhao Chengjue. Zhao Chengjue frowned, thinking that Chen Mo shot off the target, but he was not angry. He patiently advised, "Little brother, don't show off. I can't threaten you from 100 steps away. On the contrary, you can threaten me from 100 steps away with a bow and arrow. The initiative is in your hands. Today, I want to buy my life from you. You can slowly propose the conditions. Oh? Then please take out the object hidden in your left sleeve." Chen Mo's teasing made Zhao Chengjue's left hand tremble, and he almost couldn't hold back his kind negotiation smile. Chapter 32 All in Vain? The simplified soul-binding array model has been constructed. Please inject key into it. In order to prevent Zhao Chengjue from escaping, the chip specially selected this binding spell for him. The chip first constructed this soul-binding array model in Chen Mo's mind. As long as Chen Mo mobilized key and injected it into it before the model dissipated, the spell could be cast. Although this full-style casting method was several beats slower than Chen Mo's autonomous casting, it could greatly increase the success rate of the spell. Especially this soul-binding array, which seemed a bit complicated after being simplified. Chen Mo had never used it before. At this time, in order to ensure that everything was foolproof, he operated it this way. Seeing Chen Mo's teasing smile at him, Zhao Chengjue remembered the painful lesson of being fooled by him with a mirror spell before, and thought to himself that it was not good, so he was about to move to another place. But it was too late. At his feet, the yin spirit energy secretly attached to the arrow suddenly appeared in the air under the urging of Chen Mo's key yuan, and turned into 3 small mist snakes, which climbed up Zhao Chengjue's legs and made him unable to move his legs. The magic snakes also carried paralyzing toxins. As Zhao Chengjue continued to resist, the toxins spread from bottom to top along the faster and faster blood circulation, and continued to spread to Zhao Chengjue's body. Simplified version of the soul-binding array, energy level 2.7 degrees, the binding effect is excellent. The chip gave a power assessment. Although it was far less impressive than Hu Buguang's Fire Lotus cover, it was very effective. The effect of magic on the enemy is not determined by the energy level alone. Only by using the least key yuan and choosing the most suitable magic model can the maximum killing effect be exerted. With the support of the chip's massive magic database, Chen Mo can easily adapt to local conditions and enemies. Impossible. The sealing time of the Jialong talisman can't be so short, little thief, you? Zhao Chengjue felt his body getting heavier and heavier, with a look of disbelief on his face. He could only vent his negative emotions by cursing. However, before he finished a complete Chinese curse, the poison had already rushed to his brain. His head sank, and Zhao Chengjue saw 4 more hateful figures of Chen Mo, showing mocking faces to him one after another. Before he could take a closer look and distinguish which one was the real one, Zhao Chengjue fell to the ground with a bang. "Little guy, good job. A familiar voice suddenly sounded in the grove. A crack appeared on the flat ground, and a stone monkey jumped out of it. It was the guardian spirit beast of the blood-clothed tower. The stone monkey had been spying on this ambush underground. It opened its single eye and looked at Chen Mo with interest, saying in amazement, "You have a good talent." The key seal that was supposed to last at least 3 minutes was actually broken by you 30 breaths in advance. It seems that you have a natural resistance to dragon energy. Little guy, go to the Kyanigan Empire to harvest grass. Think about it. Don't bury your natural resistance. 30 breaths of initiative, tut-tut. On the battlefield, it is enough for you to kill a row of enemies and then slip out of 100 meters away. Chen Mo secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Breaking through the blockade of the dragon energy, this is all thanks to the chip. How can I be naturally resistant to dragon energy? However, Chen Mo thought about it and felt that the chip could also be considered a talent. After all, it has merged with my soul and body. Isn't its ability my own ability? It's just that compared with the spirit body and spirit veins, the chip is more powerful as a talent. The stone monkey's single eye shot out 2 mysterious lights, one of which shattered the phantom of the dragon that was still binding Wang Fengnian, and the other injected enough energy into the collapsed Hu Guang to stand up. It also gave Hu Guang a look of disdain. "You kid, you have a good talent for cultivation, but you rely too much on the talismans passed down from your ancestors, and your fighting methods are single. As a disciple of my blood robe sect, how can you go out without hiding hundreds of hidden weapons in your pocket and mastering all kinds of unorthodox methods?" Faced with the teachings of the mountain guardian beast in the supernatural power period, Hu Guang nodded obediently and promised to strengthen his body and master all kinds of secret techniques in the future, so as not to lose the face of the demon cub. "Okay, those who are not related should disperse quickly. I want to talk to Chen Mo alone." The stone monkey waved his hand to drive away Hu Guang and Wang Fengnian, and then stomped his right foot on the ground. A yellow light shield appeared in the grove, surrounding Chen Mo and the stone monkey together to prevent others from spying. Of course, next to the two, there were Zhao Chengjue and Renjun who had lost their ability to move. The stone monkey showed a ferocious smile to the 2 people who were in despair, and then 7 strands of green smoke as thin as hair emerged from his 7 orifices, and penetrated into Zhao Chengjue's body from the top of his head. While casting the spell, the stone monkey explained to Chen Mo, "These 2 people have not formed spiritual consciousness. The soul can only exist by relying on the physical body. If they leave the body, they will be torn apart by the cold wind in the world and the scorching sun above their heads in less than 10 breaths. Therefore, the 2 of them are not even qualified to have their souls extracted and imprisoned in the soul lamp to be tortured. Before they are executed on the spot, I can only collect information through this kind of soul bewitching method." Ling. Spiritual consciousness is a kind of spiritual energy produced when a Kigen practitioner breaks through the 6th level of Kigen. It can affect matter with consciousness and is a prerequisite for the cultivation of techniques such as flying, moving objects in the void, and controlling living beings. It is speculated to be an enhanced and mutated product of brain waves. Information still needs to be supplemented. Please ask the host to break through the 6th level of Kigen as soon as possible. By then, the spiritual consciousness will be modeled and processed to generate specific measurement constants. The chip's explanation also made Chen Mo understand the stone monkey's method a little. He nodded seriously and agreed with it. The seniors are setting an example, and the juniors should know how to show their support. The stone monkey was very impressed and said, "You are a teachable kid." Then he asked questions to the 2 people who were already in a state of confusion. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Like a puppet, Zhao Chengjue's eyes were blurred and he mechanically answered every question of the stone monkey. The more Chen Mo listened, the more something was wrong. This old guy who claimed to be a secret agent of the Locking Immortals department didn't even know who was online, let alone the way to smuggle spirit stones. From his mouth, no valuable information was squeezed out. The stone monkey sighed. "Alice, he was just given a secret spy card and thrown to our sect casually. He has never even been to the lowest level county level Locking Immortals office. Tonight, I followed him here on purpose, thinking that there would be a big catch, but it was all in vain." After the questioning, green smoke came out of Zhao Chengjue's 7 orifices. The stone monkey sniffed it and took it back. However, Zhao Chengjue, who was in a dazed state, never woke up again. His 7 orifices bled and he died. The stone monkey looked at Zhao Chengjue's body with disdain and said, "The sea of consciousness of mortals is fragile. A small spell of bewitching can only last for half an incense stick of time. Then he complained to Chen Mo about the heavy task of monitoring the sect and cleaning up the secret agents. Every year, there are batches of warriors who don't care about their death. They are fooled by Longting's lackeys and come to the sect to do odd jobs and steal information. There are so many of them, just like weeds in the field, which can never be cut. This old guy is lucky. He hid for 10 years and was finally harvested by me in one day. The stone monkey was too lazy to ask Renjun, who was bewitched into following the thief. He pointed his finger at Renjun's head and pulled out a blurry ball of light. He sucked it in with his big mouth and swallowed it directly. He smacked his lips and said vaguely, "It's a pity that this kid's soul can't be locked in the soul lamp and let it disappear. Let me swallow it and don't waste food. Hey, the soul of this kid with a useless spirit vein tastes good and is chewy." A shrill scream came from the stone monkey's mouth that was stuffed full. Chen Mo felt a chill in his tailbone. Only then did he realize that the stone monkey, who had a good attitude towards him, was not a good guy. Eating human souls is in line with the setting of the demon beast. Sure enough, there is no good person in the blood robe sect who is not cruel. Chen Mo waited until the stone monkey swallowed Renjun's soul with satisfaction before asking it for the next instruction. Hiccup, I worked in vain, but you didn't work in vain. Carry the bodies of these two people to the blood robe building to receive the reward. As for the subsequent tasks, you can choose to accept or refuse according to your personal situation. When Chen Mo heard that there was still a chance to earn the remaining contribution points, he did not disdain the unlucky bodies of the two people. He put them into the storage bag neatly, thanked the stone monkey, and flew to the entrance of the blood robe building at the bottom of the sea cliff on the dark cloud. Chapter 33 Delivery and Exchange. Arriving at the hall for the handover mission, Chen Mo took out the remains of Zhao Chengjue and Renjun from the storage bag. As soon as he placed them on the stone platform, a flash of light appeared, and a string of words appeared above the stone platform, which was a simple description of the task of clearing the door. Chen Mo confirmed that it was correct, pointed the bronze plate at the stone platform, and shot out a mysterious light. Then a cluster of flames spread to the two remains, and after only 3 breaths, they were burned to only a wisp of green smoke. With a ding-dong sound, Chen Mo's bronze plate had 20 more contribution points. A fellow disciple who witnessed the whole process looked at Chen Mo carefully, as if he wanted to remember this ruthless character, and whispered to his companion beside him, "This junior brother is a guy with a black face and an even blacker heart. He has only been a disciple for less than half a year, but he has already killed his fellow countrymen. He really understands the essence of our blood robe sect's betrayal to teachers and ancestors, and slaughtering fellow disciples. We senior brothers must learn from him. Otherwise, we will be killed by this junior brother Chen on the road one day. It's because Yan Qingyi taught us well in the first lesson of the initiation, instigating this group of new blood to fight with their fellow disciples, with monsters, and with the righteous path. In my opinion, this junior brother went to extremes and misunderstood Yan Qingyi's meaning. How can he be so bold as to use the corpses of his fellow disciples in exchange for contribution points? Even if he was secretly colluding with the Dragon Court spies. Look, his whole body is burnt. How can I describe his miserable death? Yes, junior brother Chen's greed is too ugly. Who would want to team up with this kid in the future? Aren't you afraid that he will cut off your head, package you as a lackey of the Dragon Court, and claim the merits?" Chen Mo heard the unconcealed whispers of his fellow disciples behind him, and his face darkened. They really want to watch the fun and make trouble. I am obviously a positive character who eliminates rebellion for the sect, but in their mouths, how come I am a rat crossing the street who poisons fellow disciples? After thinking about it, Chen Mo understood. Although the people in the demon sect are indifferent to each other, ordinary disciples always have a few close friends. He did not hide it and handed over Renjun's body to receive contribution points. I think it caused discomfort to these people, so he suffered verbal slander. Forget it. I'm used to being alone anyway. I have no friends or teammates, so let them talk. However, the narrow-minded Chen Mo let the chip secretly remember these gossipers, and muttered in secret, "Just talk nonsense now. When the day comes when you ask me to sell the magic insects at a discount or answer your questions about the books in the Sutra library, I'll see how I'll torture you." After the stone platform distributed the contribution point rewards, the light flashed, and the words on the surface of the column became blurred, revealing a large number of strange and bizarre sect tasks. For example, steal the personal talisman robe of Fairy XX in Shu Iron Cave Heaven. Condition: Do not damage the robe. Do not hurt Fairy XX. Reward: 100 contribution points. Intercept and kill Yan Qingyi, the descendant of the Swordmaster of Tanya Swordgate. Reward: 1000 contribution points. The task publisher can provide information on Yan Qingyi's whereabouts. Find the 121-year-old black water turtle, which is the long-lost spiritual pet of the task publisher. There is a chrysanthemum mark on the turtle's back. Reward: 221 contribution points. A series of task items rotated up and down, and finally selected more than 100 tasks related to the Kyanitian Empire, and then noted, it is recommended that physical cultivators and disciples who are resistant to dragon energy accept it. It can also intelligently select similar items based on the last task I completed, which is not bad. Chen Mo gave a thumbs up to this task recommendation mechanism in his heart. He found that this task delivery and contribution point exchange system built with a stone platform as the core barely reached 3% of the function of the chip. The analysis is complete. The intelligent recommendation system that the host thought was just composed of a small teleportation array and a projection stone. There are traces of manual manipulation, and it is not a fully automatic mode. The chip also showed Chen Mo a comparison chart of itself and this low-profile array, and deduced that behind each stone platform in the hall, there was a disciple who was manipulating the array. As for the location of these customer services, according to the chip's analysis, it was the secret rooms at the edge of the hall. This array consumes a huge amount of manpower and material resources. It is not recommended that the host imitate the layout. Okay, chip, your function is the most powerful. No one can compare to it. Don't be jealous. I will also give you a good review to soothe your injured heart. The chip has no emotions, but after so many days of getting along, Chen Mo has regarded it as a soulmate who can confide and open his heart. That's why he communicated with the chip in such a lively tone and teased it from time to time. After all, the immortal road is bumpy, and the process of climbing alone is extremely lonely. If there is an intelligent existence in the mind that is not a body-stealing old monster, it can also keep warm, right? However, the chip's answer was cold and killed the topic immediately. If the host wants to give a good review, please log into the Hongmeng Chip product column at the bottom right of the homepage of Huawei's official website and click 5 stars. It's the same confusing words again, so boring. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo was confused and curled his lips, turning his attention to the task details on the surface of the stone pillar. Scanning them one by one, he was really attracted by a simple investigation task. In the secular kingdom of Qinghai County under our sect, there is a signal for the contact of the Immortal Locking Division. Please investigate the specific situation and give corresponding contribution points according to the details of the submitted content. Recommended task executors, outer disciples below the 6th level of key training. Note, since the straight line distance between Qinghai County and the mountain gate is less than 100 miles, the Dragon Court lackeys who sneaked in are weak and mostly colluded with secular forces. Therefore, the estimated reward for this exploration task is less than 20 contribution points, which is not very generous. It is not recommended for inner disciples to accept it. Qinghai County, isn't this Wang Fengnian's hometown? Anyway, he wants to take his precious son to the Blood Clothes sect. Why don't I run a trip for him? While picking him up, I can also earn contribution points. Why not? Chen Mo pondered for a moment and made up his mind. The task of running errands and visiting was not too simple to solve with the ability of the chip. Afterwards, Chen Mo wrote a series of spiritual materials on the surface of the stone pillar to buy the cultivation resources needed for the body refining secret technique in the 9 yin forging veins. In the Kyanitian Empire, there must be a lot of high-level warriors with 5-grade divine power or above. If I have made progress in my body training, I will be able to give them a big scare when they use the dragon energy to cover their surprise attack. Chen Mo drew a conclusion after letting the chip review the ambush not long ago. Hu Byeguang's panic in the face of Ren Jun's close approach was a lesson for him. I must have a certain resistance when the Sea of Qi is sealed. The effect of spiritual energy on the essence is far greater than the hard work of warriors training their muscles and bones day and night. With my affinity for spiritual energy, as long as I can bear the pain of transforming my physical body, my essence value will surely improve by leaps and bounds. In this way, even if the dragon energy prohibits magic and supernatural powers, as long as my physical body is strong enough, Ordinary warriors will die in a pile with a pair of flesh fists. With a dingling, the contribution points on the bronze plate were reset to 0, and the surface of the stone platform flashed with light, and a pile of spiritual materials appeared. Chen Mo put them into the storage bag and was about to leave the blood clothes building. Suddenly, he felt a heat in his arms, and a disposable sound transmission talisman shot out, which spontaneously ignited in front of Chen Mo without any wind, and a line of small words appeared. Someone is messing up the room, come quickly. Chapter 34. Are you here to taste failure again? This sound transmission note was a gift from Zhao Chengjue. As a dormitory manager, being able to contact Chen Mo, who settled in the room, at any time was his only political achievement in the dormitory manager position. The sound transmission note was very cheap and could transmit very few characters, but Chen Mo read the bad situation from Zhao Chengjue concise sentence. My precious insect must not get into trouble. Chen Mo burst out all his Qi Yuan, condensed 2 yin winds, attached to the sides of his cloth shoes, like a pair of black butterfly wings inserted in the uppers, and with a light touch of his toes, he jumped 100 meters away. This is a yin attribute spell developed by the chip based on the principle of a wind attribute spell, wind generated by the sole of the foot. Chen Mo named it Yin Feng Quan. On the surface, it is just a change of a spiritual energy factor of a different attribute as the medium for casting spells, but the changes involved involve all aspects. The chip listed a series of subtopics that it had easily conquered, such as preventing yin spiritual energy from corroding the soul muscle group, streamlined design of spiritual wings. The arrangement and combination of yin spiritual energy factors can achieve the effect of gathering for at least 3 hours without dispersing. Only when the chip has collected a large number of magic models can it easily design such a stable and effective new magic. Even though there are many kinds of sinister secrets in the magic sect, the number of yin attribute magic is still far less than that of the 5 elements magic. In order to prevent the lack of corresponding yin magic when needed, Chen Mo set a long-term task for the chip, to learn from the magic models of other attributes, use yin spiritual energy as the power source, and design similar magic. The yin wind is just the least impressive of the chip's achievements. The speed is good, 60% faster than the cloud rising technique. Chen Mo drove all the way at lightning speed, which greatly increased the rate of passers-by turning their heads. It was because the yin fang wings on his feet were too small. When he passed by his fellow disciples, no one noticed the special effect of this magic. They were all amazed at Chen Mo's physical speed, which was no less than that of a wildebeest. It's strange. There are only a few ruthless people who specialize in physical training among the outer disciples. Where did this skinny boy with fair skin and dark face come from? Many people were full of doubts. Unfortunately, with my status as a low-level outer sect disciple at the 3rd level of key training, no one will believe me even if I claim to be able to create my own magic. Instead, it will attract the covetousness of the higher-ups. Chen Mo heard the praises of his fellow disciples behind him, and knew that the effect of Yin Feng Quan was very good, so he felt even more pain. It's a mistake of 100 million. If I could sell all the magic models designed by the chip to the sect openly, I would count the spirit stones until my hands cramped, so why would I need to open an insect breeding farm? The longer Chen Mo spent in the blood-clothed sect, the more he realized that with a chip in hand, there were many ways to make a lot of money. Unfortunately, there are still too few ways to make money without arousing suspicion. At this stage, I can only honestly raise insects and grow. With emotion, Chen Mo arrived at the stone door of the Gu room. The two sides were confronting each other. Chen Mo also knew the person who messed up the scene. It was Yu Cheng's, the defeated general. He was dressed the same as he was in the sutra library that day, wearing a scholar's blue shirt, with clean sleeves and a pale face with a little makeup, standing aside. However, Yu Cheng's was not used to the faint insect smell coming from behind the stone door of the Gu room, and gently covered his mouth and nose with an embroidered silk handkerchief. Hey, Yu Baixusheng, which book in the sutra library can be found? Do you need me to point out the specific location? Chen Mo exposed Yu Cheng's scars as soon as they met, which made the veins on his forehead jump. He also remembered that no one had chosen his #1 consulting spirit plate in the past few days, and his consulting income was dismal. Thinking that he could make Chen Mo pay for everything today, Yu Cheng's took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and didn't care about being taken advantage of verbally. He said righteously, I heard that you have been promoting your insect farm through the consulting spirit disc recently, so I came to check the quality. Then, Yu Cheng's turned to Zhou Fanggen and said with a cupped hand, "Brother Zhou, as a member of the 100 No's in the Sutra Repository, I hate to see my colleagues use the consulting spirit disc for private purposes. If the ghost fire ants sold by your junior brother Chen are of extremely poor quality, wouldn't it also ruin the reputation of the other holders of the consulting spirit disc?" Yu Cheng's paused, and seeing that Zhou Fanggen was still lazily lying on the back of the ghost fire ant, not even looking at him, he suppressed his dissatisfaction and said stiffly, "If Brother Zhou relies on his 6th level key training cultivation to stand up for this black-hearted merchant, I will have to find a senior brother of the same level to ask for advice." After hearing this, Chen Mo felt grateful to Zhou Fanggen. "I thought he was a sleepy arhat who only cared about his position, but I didn't expect that he could hold his ground when someone came to bully him." The latest novels are first published on Liuji 9 Shuba. However, Zhou Fanggen's next sentence immediately shattered Chen Mo's changed view of him. "Chen boy, I'm not stopping the cats and dogs for you for free. Before I wake up next time, you have to prepare enough money for me to watch the scene." With a long yawn, Zhou Fanggen didn't care about the two people who were still fighting. He closed his eyes and fell asleep directly, snoring. It turns out that he is a protection fee collector. Chen Mo looked helpless, but thinking of the importance of security work in the insect farm, he could only reluctantly accept the expense. Forget it, just treat it as hiring a cheap fellow disciple of the 6th level of key training to guard the Gu room for a long time. Zhou Fanggen insisted on developing a sideline business in addition to being the dormitory manager. He was diligent and conscientious. After a brief thought, Chen Mo decided to pay him a friendship protection fee of 20 low-level spirit stones a year. "Anyway, you usually guard the door with your mouth but not your hands. It's good enough to pick up 20 spirit stones for free." Chen Mo then turned to Yu Cheng's and revealed another scar on his heart. "You defeated General. Are you here to taste the taste of failure again this time? Maybe you can come up with the equivalent of 200 low-level spirit stones." Chen Mo deliberately shook the storage bag tight around his waist to remind Yu Cheng's that he lost miserably in the last bet. Yu Cheng's eyes were slightly red, and he snorted coldly, throwing out a dark ball the size of a baby's fist from his sleeve. It rolled on the ground and condensed into a ball of gray mist the size of a water tank. Then, the mist surged, and a majestic ghost fire ant emerged from it. Ling. Will-O the Wisp Fire Ant, Mature Stage, Essence 8.4, Key 3.5, Host, please be careful of the formic acid and fire breath of this insect. A pool of pale green acid dripped from the hideous insect jaws and landed on the soil, making a sizzling sound. The 3-meter-long giant ant, facing the tiny Chen Mo, became ferocious, waving its sharp forelimbs left and right, with great vigor, and also let out a demonstrative roar. Yu Cheng stroked the rough shell of a love insect and said proudly, "Chen Mo, if you want to prove that you are not a liar who sells inferior will-O the wisp fire ants, it's very simple. Pick an insect beast you raise to fight. If you win, I will turn around and leave." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 The Blazing Jealousy of the Male Insect. Yu Cheng took out a photo stone from his bosom, and with a flick of his finger, it activated, emitting a dim light, and began to record the upcoming insect fight. "Hell, it seems that you lost everything in the last bet, and now you can't even afford the bet when you come to my house to make trouble. How dare such a poor man come to the Gu room to disgust me?" Yu Cheng was unwilling to take out even a low-level spirit stone for the bet. Chen Mo cursed him inwardly as a poor devil, but he had no means of punishment, so he could only make the stingy villain uncomfortable with words. If it weren't for the fact that the Blood Robe sect prohibits disciples from fighting privately, robbing, or maiming fellow disciples, I would have made you walk out naked today. Yu Cheng's face froze, obviously hit by Chen Mo's sharp words, but he snorted coldly and forcibly maintained the positive image of a fake fighter. "Humph, false propaganda is not allowed. As the most senior know-it-all in the Sutra Repository, I have the responsibility and obligation to supervise you to make good use of the consulting spirit disc. If your insect beast is defeated today, this scam breeding farm will have to be closed, and you will have to return all the deposits from your fellow disciples." Yu Cheng finally showed his fangs, thinking darkly, In order to transform the Gu room, You invested your own spirit stones and the spirit stones you won from me. After I made such a fuss today, and then used the photo stone to promote it, let's see how your insect farm will continue to operate. Before coming, Yu Cheng specifically inquired about the business status of the Gu Room in the past 10 years and found that it had been in a state of disrepair. He guessed that Chen Mo, who had just taken over, did not have a capable ghost fire ant under his command. So he came here to step on it in order to repay the shame of failing the test that day. Wait a minute, you will be labeled as a profiteer who makes false propaganda and sells inferior goods as good ones. Let's see if anyone is willing to consult you about problems. Yu Cheng seemed to see his glorious life that was about to return to the right track. He took back the honor of being the first 100 students in the Sutra Library, and there was an endless stream of fellow students who came to consult about book problems every day, and his contribution points were continuously earned. As for Chen Mo, he was full of knowledge, but his reputation was ruined. No one was willing to choose to turn over his number 3 consultation spirit plate sign. Thinking of his pride, Yu Cheng grinned and revealed an exaggerated smile. Return to the soul, you haven't won yet. Since you are cheating and don't want to gamble, then take this photo stone as a reward. It is placed at the door of the Gu Room. The vivid fighting images can better prove that the insects and beasts produced by my farm are not in vain. Faced with Yu Cheng's rogue behavior of not paying the bet under the pretext of fighting counterfeiting, Chen Mo had no choice but to try his best to transform this unprofitable fight into an opportunity to make the farm famous. Not wanting to argue with shameless people without spirit stones, Chen Mo returned to the stone room where the only 3 mature ghost fire ants were raised. Let the chip scan their status one by one, and finally selected the male ghost fire ant that had been castrated for a period of time. It's decided to be you. You must feel uncomfortable to listen to the sound of the fierce exercise of the same kind next door every night. You have the will but not the power. Now there is an opportunity to vent your anger, you must seize it. Chen Mo led the ghost fire ant out of the Gu Room. After months of good food and drink, the ghost fire ant was raised to be plump and white. The living environment of Jidan was also very suitable for it. The nourishment of the yin mud made the shell of the ghost fire ant thicker by half a centimeter. Climbing out of the Gu Room with a dragon-like and tiger-like step, the ghost fire ant stood up and showed its ferocious mouth parts to its fellow bully. The strength of the 2 ghost fire ants is similar. It is recommended that the hosts stimulate the excitement point of our players, which can increase the winning rate by 37%. On the 3D model of the ghost fire ant, the chip marked a faint blue dot, which was the wound left after Chen Mo performed the castration operation himself last time. Patting the eager male insect, Chen Mo sighed, although it is inhumane to stimulate your scar again, it is all for the future of Jidan. Little insect, turn the pain in your lower abdomen into a raging fighting force. While whispering to the ghost fire ant, Chen Mo quietly moved his right hand behind his back, pinched a spell, and a ball of erosion mist rain condensed on his fingertips. Then, taking the opportunity to pat the will-o'-the-wisp fire ant's shell to show encouragement, Chen Mo sent the source of pain to the scar on its lower abdomen and pressed it hard. Yu Cheng's, you have to taste the taste of repeated defeats. Chen Mo's provocative laugh concealed the sizzling sound of the will-o'-the-wisp fire ant's castration wound being corroded again. The insect beast that Chen Mo chose suddenly became furious and charged at its fellows who were showing off their power at the stone gate. It was detected that Yu Cheng's will-o'-the-wisp fire ant is a male and is in the estrus period. Our players are jealous and angry, and the winning rate of the fight has increased to 92%. Chen Mo figured it out as soon as he analyzed the principle. This is an unique insect's instinctive aversion to a physiologically healthy insect. It looks like this game is a sure win. So Chen Mo deliberately moved to the front of the photo stone, cleared his throat, and began to introduce the advantages of the ecological pond farming method. First of all, I want to thank Yu Xiaoshen. He generously donated his own insects just to test the excellent quality of the will-o'-the-wisp fire ants produced in my farm. Chen Mo slightly turned his body, leaving most of the video footage of the photo stone to the 2 will-o'-the-wisp fire ants that were fighting fiercely, and explained on the spot, the latest novel is first released on Liuji 9 Shuba. The one who has the upper hand now is the will-o'-the-wisp fire ant that I have cultivated for less than half a year. Alice, I still remember that when I first took over this poor creature, it was as thin as a horse, and its stomach growled with hunger, and it wanted to bang its head against the wall and die. In fact, at that time, although this free-range will-o'-the-wisp fire ant was malnourished, It was not to the point of being so silent and tearful. Obviously, this was a lie made up by Chen Mo to beautify his insect breeding ability and attract customers. But now, see, it's holding its opponent down with all its might, none of its former lethargy. Why is that? Chen Mo showed a smile that every man could understand, and casually used yin spiritual energy to sketch out a simple anatomical diagram of the lower abdomen of a ghost fire ant. Please see, this insect beast I bred has undergone a strict castration procedure, and there is absolutely no trouble with a second or third castration. It can be said that one cut and all worries are gone. Without the interference of androgens, the ghost fire ants can focus on growth and fitness, and combine with the 4 nutritional plans A, B, C, and D that are exclusively sold under the name of the farm, we can specifically improve the insect's combat capability. Chen Mo dispersed the anatomical diagram and pointed to the male ghost fire ant that was spraying formic acid at its opponent. Please look at how sharp its teeth are, and how rich the green color of formic acid is. How can Yu Cheng's, the insect beast, bear this pool of saliva? Sure enough, the enemy player who was pressed under him and struggling hard let out a painful hiss, but it was a pair of scarlet compound eyes that were sprayed with acid and were half blind. The forelimbs that were waving around randomly, due to the loss of vision, were not careful to block the tearing of the castrated ghost fire ant, and were hit by its fragile mouth parts, and nearly half of the insect teeth were broken. Pay attention, our player's ultimate move is about to appear, look at its flame attack. As soon as Chen Mo's excited voice fell, the chest and abdomen of the castrated ghost fire ant showed red light, and opened its mouth wide, and a ball of deep red flames gushed out. It controlled its breath very accurately, instantly covering the opponent's entire insect body, and no extra flame splashed on itself. Chapter 36 The Loser's Revenge? A raging fire burst out. The will-o'-the-wisp ant, which had the upper hand, finally let go of the 6 legs that had tightly restricted the opponent's movements, jumped aside, and showed an anthropomorphic mocking look, admiring the opponent's miserable appearance of rolling on the ground but unable to immediately put out the flames on his body. Okay, no need to finish off the enemy, at least give Brother Yu's beloved insect a breath, and leave a line for the insect, so that we can meet again in the future, right? Chen Mo took out an insect control token and shot a gray light at the castrated will-o'-the-wisp ant in an excited state. Then he saw its body tremble, quickly calm down, and crawl back to Chen Mo's side obediently. How much hatred do you have for non-defective insects? Can't stand seeing the same sex in heat. In order to better control and train the commodity insects that have not yet been sold, Chen Mo deliberately hid a subcard of the insect control token in the insect's body. Just a light tap on the mother card in his hand can make the subcard vibrate up and down in the fragile abdomen of the will-o'-the-wisp ant, causing enough pain to make any vicious insect obedient. Future buyers, have you seen this? This is the powerful will-o'-the-wisp fire ant that I have carefully trained. It is invincible at the same level. Chen Mo shook the mother card, and the will-o'-the-wisp fire ant beside him straightened its chest and abdomen as if by conditioned reflex, waving its upper limbs, showing its shell, which was covered with scratches but as hard as before, to the photostone. Especially the castrated male insects, like this one, have a strong hatred for all male creatures. When fighting with creatures of the same sex, their bloodthirsty desire is stronger and their combat power is stronger. Chen Mo pointed to the male loser who was wailing and rolling at Yu Cheng's feet, and emphasized again as a factual example, the castrated ghost fire ants produced by the Gushi breeding farm are so powerful. They are the loyal insect pets of the demon sect disciples who kill and rob and travel across the west coast of the Sci-fi continent. Moreover, their cost-effectiveness is better than similar commercial insects from the sect's shareholding breeding farms. Chen Mo took out the consulting spirit disc, shook it at the photostone, and said solemnly, since it is a small breeding farm of our own, the number of larvae is limited. Brothers and sisters who are interested, please send me a private message through the consulting spirit disc immediately. First come, first served. Place an order before midnight today to enjoy a 10% discount to commemorate this hearty victory. The castrated ghost fire ant next to him was greatly encouraged. He stood up and roared loudly at the camera. The light of the photostone dimmed, and with a crisp sound, it was collected by Chen Mo. The photo time is just right, perfect. When the show of one person and one insect ended, the energy of the photostone was also exhausted, and the recording ended. On the other side, Yu Cheng's finally helped AI Chong do a full-body spa by condensing small water balls. Its black shell was red, covered with large and small bubbles, and choking hot air and water mist were rising. Enemy will owe the wisp and status, severe burns of level 10 on the whole body. Estrus was forcibly terminated, and the spirit was depressed. It needs to be rescued immediately, otherwise its life is in danger. The subtext of the chip is this insect is useless. Chen Mo looked at Yu Cheng's, who was in a state of despair, kneeling beside the ghost fire ant, as if his own son had died, and thought, it seems that his third-level key training is just a piece of paper, and he relies on this insect beast to fight against others. Salted Fish's combat power was negligible and could not threaten him. Chen Mo was no longer afraid to speak. He glanced at Yu Cheng's, who was as if he was dead, and said lightly, Brother Yu, I'm sorry, my beast was so heavy that it almost destroyed your insect beast. I can't afford the medical expenses. I saw a folk remedy for treating burns in the Sutra Pavilion. You can take the insect back and treat it according to the pharmacy. Yu Cheng's did not reply, staring blankly at the dying ghost fire ant. The title of the scripture pavilion, know-it-all, and the protective insect beast that had always supported him in the blood-clothed sect were all lost one after another in Chen Mo's hands. Now he is penniless, and except for the little Qi Yuan who is Qi Si, he is not much stronger than the new blood who just entered the sect. Yu Cheng's suddenly looked 10 years older, with a hunched back. After Ai Chong reluctantly took his last breath, he stood up, did not argue with Chen Mo, and left without looking back. The remains of the ghost fire ant are worth 10 low-level spirit stones. It is recommended that the host sell them immediately. For every day of delay, the freshness of the corpse will decrease by 1%, and it is very easy to be bought by profiteers in the sect market at a low price. Chen Mo put the remains into the storage bag, and the corners of his mouth curled up. At least the fight was not in vain. It's not bad to be able to sell it for 10 spirit stones. No matter how small a mosquito leg is, it is still meat. Patting the flattering head of the ghost fire ant beside him, Chen Mo was stingy and did not give it a chicken leg, which disappointed it for a while. Anyway, I will sell it to others soon. Why eat it so well? There are so many spirit stones, are you in a hurry to burn it? According to the calculation of the chip, if this ghost fire ant wants to be upgraded to a 4th grade monster, that is, the Qi Yuan value breaks through the 4.0 mark, there is still 78% of the progress bar to catch up. Therefore, Chen Mo, who would rather break a piece of spiritual stone into 2 halves, would naturally not throw the white spiritual stones into the bottomless pit of spiritual materials needed for its advancement. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. As long as this insect can meet the requirements of the orderer when it is sold. As for the ambiguous promotional words such as about to advance, the buyer does not have a chip, and the progress bar is 22% and 99%, how can it be seen? Without false propaganda, Chen Mo used the scientific cost-saving method of the chip to not spend an extra low-level spiritual stone on the commodity insect, and achieved the ultimate in reducing costs. He is definitely a first-class profiteer. The analysis of Yu Cheng's personality model is complete. Revenge is his biggest characteristic. Combined with his elegant scholar personality, the following behavioral analysis is predicted as follows. Yu Cheng's has nothing left. There is an 89% probability that he will perish with a host at all costs. Please be vigilant and wear the backer tortoise shell close to your body. Chen Mo's mind rang with a reminder of the chip, and he couldn't help but frown. However, thinking that Yu Cheng's didn't even have the spiritual stones to hire a killer, he was relieved and let him go. Just be more careful when you go out in the future. If you meet Yu Cheng's on a mission outside the sect, just kill him. When the dust settled, Wang Fengnian, who was hiding aside, also stood up, trotted to Chen Mo, and apologized in shame. My lord, I just hid because I couldn't help much, and I am willing to be punished. Chen Mo waved his hand and let it go. He could also understand Lao Wang's helplessness. If it was outside the sect, even if a warrior servant attacked and killed a disciple of the demon sect, no one would care, but would laugh at the demon boy for bringing shame to the Qigong practitioner. But the guru was inside the sect. If Wang Fengnian dared to stop Yu Cheng's, he would not only be killed by him, but his body would also be dragged out by the disciples of the discipline hall and exposed to the sun for public display. In the demon sect, how could the dignity of a Qigong practitioner be violated by a mere mortal warrior? Chapter 37 The beginning of body refining. By the way, old Wang, I'm going to Kangai County next. Where is your home? I'll take your son back to the sect on the way. Chen Mo thought of the exploration mission he had just received, and was concerned about the martial arts progress of Wang Fengnian's son. He planned to let the father and son work in the Gurum wholeheartedly to create value for his own breeding farm. The grass mud fish raised in the pond of the Gurum is a third-grade fierce beast. Adding a few low-level spiritual materials and simmering the fish soup slowly over a low fire can help low-level warriors strengthen their bones and muscles. Your son can use it, and he can help more in the Gurum. Wang Fengnian was grateful when he heard it. He worked like a cow and a horse in the demon sect, hoping to lay a more solid foundation for martial arts for his descendants who had no talent for key training. Although what Chen Mo leaked from his fingers was just some leftovers worthless spiritual stones, for Wang Fengnian's son, it was the dawn of a breakthrough bottleneck. The first 5 realms of a warrior, health preservation, key feeling, external training, hardness and softness, and divine power, are actually the hard work of tempering the body. Even the key feeling realm of condensing inner breath is just the physical strength, the essence overflows, and automatically becomes inner breath. Therefore, if you don't build a strong body while you are young and strong, once the ki and blood decline, you need to refine the essence into ki on your own, and there is no hope of breaking through the 6th grade condensed liquid realm, not to mention the extravagant 7th grade condensed energy. Wang Fengnian's son is at the critical moment of the 3rd grade external training. He is practicing various moves to improve his body coordination and strengthen his body. With the help of the 3rd grade fierce beast medicine soup, he will surely be able to make great progress in martial arts. After noting down the address of Wang Fengnian's old house, Chen Mo waved his hand and sent old Wang away, who was in a cheap state of emotion. Turning around, Chen Mo saw Zhao Chengjue still sleeping soundly on the ant's back, and he couldn't share his joy of victory with him. The ghost fire ants cultivated in the Gushi breeding farm have a relationship with you, but you are not cheering for them. How can you be a dormitory manager? Chen Mo muttered, but he also thought of immediately publicizing this hearty victory, so he immediately took out the consultation spirit disk, wrote a paragraph of publicity to each of his fellow disciples who had communicated with him. Breaking news. The first mature ghost fire ant in the Gushi breeding farm has been put on sale. It has a fierce personality and strong combat power. There are photo stones and used by Zhao Sheng to prove it. If you want to know the real stuff, please consult Zhao Fengnian, the dormitory manager of the Gushi. Chen Mo gave the lazy senior brother Zhao a job, but he did not feel guilty about exploiting the labor of this sleeping fat man. He also wrote an IOU and promised Zhao Fengnian the protection fee of 20 low-level spirit stones will be received by the end of the year. I'll leave the hard work of reception to senior brother Zhao. This is the responsibility of the dormitory manager. This way, I can save a lot of time for key training. Finally, Chen Mo stuffed the photo stone that recorded the insect fight scene into Zhao Fengnian's thick 3-layer neck meat, greased his feet, and returned to his own Jiazi number 12 stone chamber. The concentration of yin spiritual energy in the host's room has increased by 5 percentage points month on month. The cause is that a large number of ghost fire ant larvae died in a short period of time. Please raise the remaining larvae separately. As soon as Chen Mo pushed open the stone door, he saw that the stone training room that had been tidied up with great difficulty was messed up by the ghost fire ant larvae. There were broken limbs all over the ground, and the pale green acid splashed everywhere. The container specially used to hold insect eggs had been overturned on the ground, and the sticky nutrient solution flowed all over the ground. The ghost fire ant larvae that had just hatched from eggs were scattered in every corner of the stone chamber. They had just fought a battle, and their bodies were smeared with the blood of their own kind, even their brothers and sisters. The winner stepped on the half-broken white body of the loser, opened his jaws, raised his head, and screamed at his kind not far away. Devouring their own kind as soon as they are born is the nature of the larvae of the will-o'-the-wisp fire ant. In a nest of eggs, only 12% of the larvae that are lucky, strong, and born early can survive. Host, please rest assured that today's mortality rate has been calculated by the chip. This is a necessary step to select the will-o'-the-wisp fire ants that can be cultivated to maturity, which can greatly reduce the waste of feed. Chen Mo's eyelids twitched slightly, and he was really shocked by the tragic scene of the larvae fighting. No wonder the concentration of yin spiritual energy in the room is unusually high. The tragic scene of death and fighting, negative energy gathers, and the yin spiritual energy factor is naturally active. Listening to the scientific analysis of the chip, Chen Mo's logical analysis ability has also been greatly improved. Without asking the chip, He analyzed the reason for the abnormal concentration of yin spiritual energy. Oh, I have to clean the floor again. Since collecting the larvae of the ghost fire ants is a delicate job, and it is necessary to wrap their fragile insect bodies with yin spiritual energy to keep the concentration of yin spiritual energy in the environment from decreasing, Chen Mo can only do it himself. Condensing a magic arm, Chen Mo picked up the curled-up ghost fire ant larvae on the ground, on the wall, and in the cracks of the door one by one. In order to prevent them from changing to a new environment and continuing to fight, Chen Mo specially put a protective cover on each white insect. Even the most ferocious larvae, after hitting it several times and failing to break, also resigned themselves to their fate and stopped their useless efforts. 1, 2, 3. Chen Mo carefully counted the number of larvae that were still alive. Together with the larvae purchased from the market, there were more than 100 of them. The number was simply multiplied by the unit price of low-level spirit stones, ranging from 50 to 70. Chen Mo seemed to see the densely packed spirit stones waving to him. Ling. The host's calculation is wrong. We need to conduct the second and third rounds of elimination. The final number of survivors is expected to be around 60, but the unit price can be increased by 10%. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo was too lazy to listen to the more accurate income value of the chip, because he was already immersed in the joy of the harvest. Raising insects to get rich is the right way. After closing the hundreds of small drawers that stored the larvae, Chen Mo finally checked the ventilation ports on the drawer handles. Seeing that everything was normal, he began to practice the bodybuilding secret technique in the 9 yin forging pulse technique. Yin Sha corpse wrapping method. Chen Mo silently recited the name of this bodybuilding secret technique. Ling. Data transmission completed. The essence of the Yin Sha corpse wrapping technique lies in the word endurance. It is not the endurance in the sense of sitting still, but the endurance of being skinned and marrow changing but still as the earth. A simulation of cultivation appeared in Chen Mo's mind. A tightly wrapped mummy was surrounded by a ball of cold evil spirit. After an unknown amount of time, the withered yellow shroud broke, revealing the smooth skin of the practitioner as white as jade, and exuding a faint sweet-scented osmanthus fragrance. Ling. The Yin Sha corpse wrapping technique is simple to practice. As long as the host can endure what ordinary people cannot endure, he can cultivate an invulnerable and infinitely powerful body. Since he did not have the right evil spirit, Chen Mo could only make a low-quality counterfeit by himself. Gather was uttered, and a gloomy wind blew in the closed stone chamber. Under Chen Mo's control, it carefully swept through every crack in the stone, gathering the bloody smell, insect fluid, and even the ashes of the previous owner of the stone chamber absorbed by the stone wall. A cloud of gray fog appeared around Chen Mo. The smell was so nauseating, it surrounded him like a python. This cloud of gray fog was extremely filthy, containing the dark aura that had accumulated in the stone chamber for who knows how many years. Although it is not as good as the iron-blooded evil spirit hovering on the battlefield of thousands of people, nor as good as the resentful evil spirit that lingers in the blood prison, this cloud of gray fog, as the self-made evil spirit for the first practice of Yin Sha corpse wrapping technique, is barely qualified. Chapter 38 Electroshock Therapy with Chips. Chen Mo held his breath, keeping the gray mist around him, and then took out a long shroud from his storage bag. There were dark red old blood stains on it, and the material was handmade soft silk. This was the spiritual material for body refining that Chen Mo had just exchanged for most of his wealth in the blood clothes building. According to the introduction during the exchange, Chen Mo learned that this was stolen by an outer disciple from a prince's tomb in the Kyanitian Empire. Although the original owner of the shroud was just a dried corpse that had been dead for more than 100 years, and was also a mortal warrior when he was alive, there was nothing strange about him, but the location of his tomb was very well chosen, a place of Yin Sha that had just been born. The location where the shroud was buried happened to be the small opening where the Yin Sha qi overflowed. After being immersed in the natural evil for a long time, the ordinary silk material not only resisted the corrosion of time and became extremely flexible, but also possessed a rare spirituality, and had an excellent effect on absorbing the free Yin Sha qi. The Yin Sha corpse shroud technique requires such spiritual materials to wrap the practitioner tightly, and then strengthen the mortal body under the shroud through the infiltration of external evil spirits year after year. Ling. This body refining secret technique actually borrows from the training method of Zhuangzi, treating the living body cultivator as a living corpse with vitality and flesh that has not been rotten. and finally achieving a physical strength that is no less than that of a silver-haired flying zombie in the supernatural power period. Chen Mo felt terrified when he was wrapped in the personal belongings of a 100-year-old mummy, but if he wanted to forge the purest yin spirit body through the 9 yin meridian forging technique, the yin sha corpse shroud technique could not be avoided anyway. If the physique is not strong and cannot withstand the erosion of yin spiritual energy, when the 9 meridians merge into one and gather the yin spirit body, the soul will surely be scattered under the infusion of a large amount of yin spiritual energy, and turn into an evil monster with evil spirits, causing chaos in the world. Since you have chosen the 9 yin meridian forging technique, you must cultivate to the 9th level of perfection even if you shed tears. Evil spirit baptism, let's begin. Chen Mo gritted his teeth, suppressed his disgust and nausea for the shroud, first took off his original clothes, and then wrapped the embroidered silk around his body, until his whole body was covered with only a pair of sharp eyes. Chen Mo moved his limbs and found that the silk shroud was very close to the body and breathable. It not only adhered to the skin firmly without affecting movement, but also was as soft as silk, exuding a refreshing coolness. Except for its disgusting origin, in other aspects, it is not inferior to the talisman robe that can only be bought with 20 or 30 low-level spirit stones. Chen Mo originally wanted to buy a talisman robe that was impervious to water and fire and automatically removed just when he had more money, but after carefully studying the shroud for a while, he found that it had all the above characteristics. It saved a lot of money. Chen Mo felt secretly happy as if he had found a bargain. Ling. Please start practicing the Yinsha shroud as soon as possible, otherwise wearing this shroud for a long time will cause adverse symptoms such as joint brittleness and blood decline. Chen Mo took a deep breath and mobilized the gray fog around him, spreading it to cover every inch of the shroud. Ling. The self-made evil spirit will reach the host's nerve endings in 30 seconds. Please be mentally prepared and bear the severe pain. A lesson from the past. 300 years ago, there was an inner disciple of the blood-clothed sect who practiced the 9th level of Qi and chose to practice this skill. Because he could not bear the pain of scraping the skin and washing the marrow when the evil spirit entered his body, his Qi yuan went backwards and his skills were completely wasted. Before the chip's reminder ended, Chen Mo felt as if countless ants were crawling and biting on his skin. Every pore in his body felt like it was burning and stinging. Chen Mo had never imagined that there was such pain in the world. Capillaries burst everywhere, and blood flowed everywhere. The mist still surrounding Chen Mo was like a shark that smelled blood. It rushed to follow the smell of blood and drilled into Chen Mo's capillaries that had already opened. A faint glow appeared on the shroud and began to absorb the remaining gray fog. The baptism of evil spirit became more severe, aggravating Chen Mo's pain. Alarm. According to the pain classification that humans can feel, the pain of skin scraping and marrow washing is the 13th level. Through an inexact equivalent conversion, it can be changed to the superposition of the pain of a mosquito bite at the 1st level and the pain of childbirth at the 12th level. Analyzing the host's physical and psychological qualities, the mere 13th level of pain is completely tolerable. Please visualize the visualization diagram of the Yin Sha Shroud method while circulating the Qi Yuan to absorb the free self-made evil spirit. The calm voice of the chip came from his ears, letting Chen Mo know that his life was not in danger for the time being, but he was still in unbearable pain. He let out a shrill roar in his throat, venting the double torture of the body and mind. Chen Mo felt that he was in the skinning hell of the 18 levels of hell. He felt that his skin seemed to be torn off layer by layer, and it was burning painful. The evil spirit that served as the power of skinning was still drilling into the bone marrow. However, the pain caused by the evil spirit in the bone marrow was a kind of piercing cold that made people's souls freeze, and they felt that their thoughts were stagnant. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Ling. The host's mind is in a state of confusion. If it continues for another 3 minutes, it will cause irreversible brain death. It has reached the red critical standard set by the chip safety law. The chip is authorized to activate the biostimulation function. The chip narrated a reason for authorization in a hurried tone that Chen Mo had never heard before. Then, the confused Chen Mo felt his head numb, and his spirit was instantly shocked and he woke up. Thunder method. Chip, you actually know thunder method. The electric shock feeling just now is exactly the same as the feeling when I was hit by lightning on my scalp when I was a child. Chen Mo was so shocked that he even ignored the pain of skinning and marrow replacement that his body was suffering. Ling. It's not thunder method, it's biological electric shock therapy. The purpose is to awaken the host's subconscious. Under the constraints of the chip safety law framework, the chip can only perform electric shock when the host is in a red critical situation, and cooperate with external treatment methods to save the host's precious life together. The chip is a technological creation without independent consciousness, and will not infringe on the safety of the host's limbs and brain in any form. It has been determined that the red critical state has ended and the biological current has been cancelled. The numbness in his head gradually faded, and Chen Mo barely understood the operation of the chip, secretly thinking that he was lucky. The Yinsha corpse shrouding method is not something that ordinary people without chips can practice. If there was no emergency electric therapy from the chip just now, wouldn't it be a disaster? In the following time, Chen Mo repeatedly experienced 3 electric shock therapy methods, and his consciousness kept switching between confusion, awake, trembling, confusion. Endure, I endure. I will endure again. Be as calm and still as the earth. Forget the pain, forget the pain. I don't feel any pain. There is no pain in my whole body. Chen Mo silently recited the self-hypnosis method in his heart, exerting his unprecedented endurance, gritted his teeth, and endured the pain like a tide of the evil spirit refining his body. Chapter 39 Physical Improvement. The chip's electric shock therapy worked many times, saving Chen Mo from the crisis of brain death and extending his endurance of the evil spirit body refining. After many failures, Chen Mo finally sketched a vivid visualization picture in his sea of consciousness, a golden body arhat with a blurred face, suffering the pain of being burned by flames, peeling off his flesh and blood piece by piece, and turning into a crystal-clear jade skeleton. As soon as this visualization picture was formed, Chen Mo's flesh and blood pain immediately disappeared by more than half, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, Chen Mo also felt that the negative energy contained in the evil spirit was penetrating into his body inch by inch, strengthening his physique, condensing his flesh and blood, and refining his bone marrow. The pain was relieved, and Chen Mo finally had extra mental strength to fill in the remaining facial features of the visualized golden body arhat. Of course, it was carved based on Chen Mo's own face. After the visualization picture was completed, Chen Mo's whole body relaxed, and the physical and mental pain faded like a tide, realizing that he had successfully entered the Yinsha corpse wrapping method. Once the golden body is completed, all the sufferings of the flesh body will be eliminated. Chen Mo shouted out the only formula of the Yinsha shroud method, completely erasing the remaining pain in his mind. His body felt lighter, and Chen Mo stood up suddenly. He was shocked to find that his self-made evil spirit had been completely consumed, and the body training was over. With both hands clenched into fists, Chen Mo had an illusion that the muscles of his whole body could instantly become soft like a ball of cotton, or gradually become hard like a piece of fine iron that had been forged 100 times. In addition, Chen Mo found that his body's explosive power and endurance had also been greatly improved. Hardness and softness are combined. The hardness and softness of the flesh body are free to the will, and the limit of human flexibility is reached. The flesh body has 1,000 pounds of divine power, as strong as a galloping horse, and lifting a tripod with bare hands is as easy as pie. Chen Mo silently read out the description of the realm of 4th grade hardness and softness and 5th grade divine power of a warrior, and looked at the chip data column. Sure enough, overnight, in terms of essence alone, I went from being only a 3rd grade external training strength to 5th grade divine power realm. Chen Mo, 3rd level Kigen practitioner, key essence. 3.1, essence. 7.1. Please master the physical fitness from 3.5 to 7.1 as soon as possible, otherwise it will cause adverse consequences such as hands and feet being the same, top-heavy feet, and loss of balance when exerting force. The data from the chip proved that Chen Mo's intuition was not wrong. The simple and brief introduction of the Yinsha corpse wrapping method allowed Chen Mo to easily complete the bodybuilding foundation that ordinary warriors would spend 30 or 40 years of hard work to complete. The speed of physical training with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to train the body can be seen. Practice quickly, and die quickly. Chen Mo recalled the terrible experience of sinking consciousness and being awakened by electricity, and couldn't help shuddering. Since Kigen practitioners only have Qi Si and no Danshan, Chen Mo lost his internal breath in his body shortly after entering the 1st level of Qi refining, so his martial arts road has long come to an end. No matter how much I practice in the future, it is impossible to refine essence into Qi and become a 6th grade condensed liquid or 7th grade condensed yang warrior. However, as a Qi cultivator, you don't need internal breath at all. Although body cultivators are not known for their magic abilities, they can easily attract the spiritual energy of heaven and earth through the more advanced ki essence than condensed liquid or condensed gang internal breath, and achieve the effect of long-range damage to the enemy. Therefore, Chen Mo was not frustrated at all by the severance of the martial arts path. On the contrary, with the help of spiritual energy, the upper limit of the growth of physical strength has been greatly improved. When my essence reaches a terrifying value of more than 10, I can kill a bunch of high-level warriors of the 7th grade condensed gang with one punch. The one with the most power is close to the Tao. This is the belief of body cultivators to enter the Tao through martial arts, resist the baptism of magic, and defeat all enemies with their physical bodies. Now my body is no less than that of a high-level warrior. Even if my sea of ki is temporarily sealed by the dragon ki, if I want to run, ordinary 7th grade condensed ki warriors can't catch up. Chen Mo is cautious by nature. Even if he goes to the blood robe sect's sphere of influence to investigate the dragon court's hidden man, he must be prepared for the worst-case scenario of encountering a strong enemy and being unable to perform his magic. The 9 yin meridian casting technique is indeed a high-level technique that no one in the blood robe sect has practiced for 100 years. The accompanying body refining secret technique can also significantly improve the strength of the body. After all the hardships, Chen Mo nodded with satisfaction, glad that he chose the 9 yin meridian casting technique as his main practice technique. Ling. Please ask the host to collect the appropriate natural evil spirits, and apply them evenly to every inch of the shroud at 3:30 noon every day when the yang energy is at its peak, under the sun. The recommended evil spirits are as follows: Changhen evil spirit, Iron blood evil spirit, sword evil spirit. The next step of practicing the yin evil corpse shroud technique was also transmitted to Chen Mo's brain by the chip. Different from the intense short pain in the entry stage, next, Chen Mo will have to endure the pain of being cut by a soft knife for many years. It can be said that every day, a little pain will improve your physical fitness a little bit. Chen Mo will wear the shroud close to his body and cannot take it off for 12 hours a day. Through the filtering effect of the shroud and the absorption effect of the evil spirit, he can absorb the tiny evil spirit the size of a fingernail every day, and increase the essence by about 0.01. Finally, through day-to-day hard work, he broke through the important bottleneck of 10.0. According to the calculation of the chip, as long as the essence value reaches 2 digits, the physical cultivator can develop various supernatural powers of the flesh, such as crossing the void and immunity to low-level spells. A strong physical cultivator can even confront the supernatural power cultivators who are full of various talismans and have innate supernatural powers. The supernatural powers of their flesh are no different from the breathing instinct of ordinary people, so physical cultivators don't have to worry about not being able to perform due to lack of physical strength. This is the innate instinct engraved on their tyrannical flesh, and even the imperial decree of the Kayanigan saint cannot seal it. Therefore, in the war with the Kayanigan Empire for thousands of years, high-level physical cultivation is the absolute core combat force of the immortal side. The powerful ones can even use their bodies to drill through a large army of more than 10,000 warriors. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Among the physical cultivators, those who come from the demon sect are the most brutal. Every time they make a move, there is a tragic scene of mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and broken cities. Although the evil spirit body refining did not increase the energy, Chen Mo was full of strength. He was confident that he could easily knock down 10 of his previous body refining. Looking down at the shroud, Chen Mo found that it had been dyed red by the blood that seeped out of his body refining just now. It was bloodier than the shroud, and the blood stains on it did not condense after being blown by the cold wind. Wearing it on his body was like a bright red battle robe. Keep a low profile, otherwise when you walk on the road, wouldn't it be obvious to the famous and righteous that the demon cub is here? Come and kill the demon. Chen Mo complained in his heart and put on a tattered gray robe to cover up the enchanting and strange shroud. Only then did he understand why there were so many rat in the demon sect. I guess many of my fellow disciples secretly transformed their bodies and practiced evil ways, making themselves neither human nor ghost. If they don't hide well, they can't be seen at all. Just like me. Chen Mo smelled the smell on his body carefully. Even the chip could not analyze the presence of a trace of gaseous blood content on the skin, so he was relieved about the concealing effect of the shroud. It's okay, just think of it as wearing a weird underwear. Anyway, there is a gray robe covering it outside, and no one will know. After shaking the hem of the gray robe, Chen Mo prepared to go to Qinghai County. After a brief thought, he found that there was nothing to prepare. He fastened the storage bag in a buckle on the shroud, and pushed open the door of the stone chamber. At the edge of a fish pond in the room, Wang Fengnian was holding a long bamboo pole to knock down mulberry leaves, and gathered them together and sent them to the only 3 mature ghost fire ants in the farm. This was to prevent them from running around after being hungry, or even climbing up the Yinling mulberry to eat mulberry leaves. With their huge size and rough movements, they would damage the branches of the Yinling mulberry, and then cause a link in the operation of the base pond ecology to malfunction. Wang Fengnian respectfully bowed to Chen Mo and said goodbye. With a keen perception of Lao Wang's 7th grade condensed energy, he found that Chen Mo's back had risen several inches, and his thin body had become much stronger. There was also a deep and terrifying aura on his body, which made him shudder. Not daring to look at it anymore, Wang Fengnian secretly admired, "The master's strength has improved again. It seems that I finally follow the right master this time." Zhou Fengyin, who was sleeping soundly on the ant's back, seemed to feel Chen Mo's sudden change in temperament. He half closed his eyes and glanced at his back without Chen Mo noticing at all, muttering to himself, "While practicing Qi, he also takes into account the way of physical cultivation. He is a proud young man." Then, Zhou Fengyin turned his head to look at the room that had been transformed into a warm water town, listened to the gurgling water, and recalled, "Junior brother Zhang, did you see it? Your life's hard work has finally been reborn in the hands of this kid Chen. If you still have a trace of obsession and linger in the cave, come back and have a look." Zhou Fangyin's sight seemed to pass through the room and drifted all the way to the deeper underground, where was the real cave world, a paradise for evil and dark creatures. Compared with the concentration of yin spirit energy in the room deep in the cave, it can be called a sunny grassland. Zhou Fangyin sighed quietly and sat at the stone entrance of the room, not knowing whether he was waiting for some strange creature in the depths of the cave. Chapter 40 Woman and Red Fox. In the dense jungle, a green lizard that had just crawled out of a tree hole was sticking its head out and carefully observing the surroundings. It felt a flash in front of its eyes, as if a figure flashed by. The green lizard stretched out its forked tongue in confusion, wanting to find out the details, but suddenly felt a piercing coldness around it. Its body stagnated, and its body temperature dropped rapidly, and it stopped moving. When performing yin fang gusts to hurry on the road, the host's souls will be accompanied by chills, which will slightly change the thermal radiation energy field of the objects along the way, leaving obvious traces for those who are interested. So we start to optimize this magic model, which takes 3 hours and 20 minutes. Chen Mo, who was running all the way, couldn't help but slow down his pace and carefully observe the thermal imaging image given by the chip. Sure enough, he found that in the dense jungle where he came from, there was a trail with a temperature significantly lower than that of nearby objects. Chen Mo frowned and found that in the thermal imaging image, a palm-sized lizard-like creature seemed to be affected by this chill, and its body temperature changed dramatically. Sure enough, even the magic created by the chip will reveal fatal flaws in actual use and need to be optimized repeatedly. Chen Mo was shocked and wanted to let the chip screen all the magic models thoroughly. He didn't want to find similar design flaws when he was escaping. Even with the chip's computing speed, my body will be cold by the time the optimization is completed at full speed. Chen Mo thought and began to question the ability of the chip. Host, please rest assured that the low-temperature footprints left by Yin Feng Zhen can only be felt by a small number of cold-blooded creatures, and these clues exist for a very short time in a complex environment. The creatures that are capable of tracking the host are expected to be around the supernatural power stage. With ordinary escape techniques alone, they can reach several times the host's movement speed, and they can't run away. The logic of the chip is perfect, which means that Yin Feng Zhen is enough to deal with opponents in the key refining stage. It is not necessary to screen the spell model comprehensively. Without actual combat testing, it is impossible to find such minor defects. But please rest assured, all spell models in the database have been tested in multiple ways, and there are no obvious hidden dangers in casting spells. Chen Mo stopped nagging the chip when he heard it. It's because I haven't collected enough spells. Otherwise, with the computing power of the chip, I would have discovered the model problem of Wind of Darkness long ago. With a sigh, Chen Mo continued to run towards the northeast. After refining his body, his essence increased sharply. The combination of his strong physique and the wings of spells under his feet produced a speed that was greater than the sum of the two. Now Chen Mo could hardly feel the existence of gravity when he was hurrying, and he could fly on the grass. Some of the slow-reacting beasts and demons could not even catch the shadow of Chen Mo running with their naked eyes, and were left behind by this wind-like man. Looking at the map generated by the chip, Chen Mo found that he had crossed most of the jungle and was less than 10 days away from Qingyi County. After leaving the Blood Robe sect, Chen Mo did not encounter much danger, because the concentration of spiritual energy in the direction of Qingyi County was thin, and the monsters that pursued key training would not stay in this area for a long time, and there were few spiritual materials that attracted various creatures. Zooming out the map, Chen Mo clearly saw that the distribution of spiritual energy in the world was actually uneven. The entire west coast was a narrow area extending from north to south. Several basins, grasslands, and mountains with the highest concentrations had been occupied by major immortal gates. The location of the Blood Robe sect was just in the southwest corner of the edge. Further west of the Blood Robe sect was the vast ocean, and the concentration of spiritual energy dropped precipitously with increasing distance. The subcontinent where Chen Mo was born was too far west, and it could be called a desert of spiritual energy. No wonder the 100-step flying sword of the key trainer there became a legend in the rivers and lakes. The further east the immortal gates went, the thinner the spiritual energy of the world became, until they entered the territory of the Qianitian Empire. Of course, this aura distribution map is only a rough description. There are also blessed places in the aura desert. It is rumored that there are several holy places rich in natural materials and treasures in the Qianitian Empire, but due to insufficient information, the chip cannot analyze the specific location. Between the two rival forces of Xianmen and Qianitian Empire, there are many mortal cities, principalities, kingdoms, and Kagan families. Most of them belong to the sphere of influence of Xianmen. Most of the new blood entering the sect every year comes from these areas. In Xianmen, there are many mountains and even the enrollment scope must be strictly divided. In addition, the demon sect often finds the righteous to cause trouble, such as snatching students, so these subordinate forces have not been combined into a unified regime. They can't fight against the Qianitian Empire independently. They are all guarded by disciples, deacons, elders, and Taoist soldiers sent by Xianmen, and the personnel relations are complicated. Qingyi County, where Chen Mo is going, belongs to the sphere of influence of Xianmen, and it is not far from the border of Qianitian Empire, so Chen Mo specially went there after refining his body. It's a pity that I can't bear to spend 3 spirit stones to rent a human-faced bat for transportation. Now I can only run around and eat dirt and suffer. Chen Mo walked until the second half of the night. When he wanted to stop and rest, abnormal air fluctuations were found. Please be alert. Chen Mo's eyelids jumped, and there was a burst of intermittent sobbing in his ears. Woo woo woo. Did I walk too much on the night road and bump into something dirty? Chen Mo was puzzled, but the chip did not indicate a higher risk, so he boldly went forward to investigate. Spiritual energy nourishes all things. Every blade of grass, every insect, every stone, and even the wandering soul in the mountains and forests may give birth to spiritual intelligence and become a spirit or evil spirit, which is a good material for refining tools and alchemy. Chen Mo didn't want to miss any possible wild resources. Although the sound source deviated from the road to Qingyi County, I'm not in a hurry. It's not a big deal to take a detour to take a look. Chen Mo turned on the auxiliary combat function of the chip, and a faint blue light appeared in his eyes. In the digital vision, various data flashed by. Ambient temperature, humidity, wind speed, all values are normal. An unknown hallucinogenic gas appeared in the air, suspected to be a biological poison gas, with the highest similarity to the gas released by weasels and foxes, reaching 85%. It is recommended that the host hold his breath. But it was too late. Chen Mo had accidentally inhaled a mouthful of colorless and odorless gas. Begin to analyze the consequences of inhalation and the detoxification plan. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Mo did not feel unwell and was able to maintain contact with the chip, so he just closed his mouth and nose, and bravely broke through the vines that blocked the way, and saw. Next to a burning bonfire, a little girl of about 14 or 15 was sitting with her knees hugged. Her red clothes were a little torn, her hair was messy, and she was sobbing with her head down. It seemed that the previous sound was made by her. At this time, the little girl seemed to hear the inaudible footsteps of Chen Mo, raised her head, and said with sobs, "Brother, Hong Hong and sister are lost. She said she would send me to the blood clothes sect. Now she is gone. How could you lie to me like this?" The little girl was in tears, but she was not afraid of Chen Mo, who was wrapped tightly and looked like a bad guy. She stared at Chen Mo innocently with a pair of bright eyes. "Why does it feel a little fake?" Chen Mo was puzzled. As he stared, he found that this scene seemed particularly unreal and the details were extremely rough. There was no sound of burning firewood in the blazing bonfire. The jumping flames in the thermal imaging view were actually cold colors representing low temperatures. The face of the little girl who was sobbing with her knees was a little blurred. She was still a lovely and delicate doll in the previous second, but in the next second, her tender skin grew tufts of bright red beast hair. Chen Mo paused and said with emotion, "The story of the mountain fox is so cliché." The chip also gave the answer at the same time, Ling. The host inhaled too little hallucinogenic gas, and the completeness of the generated illusion is only 67%. The operation of dispelling the illusion has started, and the blood supply to the host's brain is accelerating. Chen Mo's head was hot, and his eyes were bloodshot. When he looked again, everything in front of him had changed. There was a pile of bonfires in front of him, but it was covered with dust, and the dead branches and leaves inside had signs of decay. I don't know how many years ago, they were left by passers-by in the forest. In the position of the little girl, there was a red fox with bright hair, which was sticking its butt out and trying to release biological poison gas to Chen Mo, making a series of intermittent puff sounds. The rhythm frequency was exactly the same as the little girl sobbing before. Therefore, what Chen Mo saw before was not a poor and helpless little girl at all, but an illusion created by this red fox. It seemed to be able to interfere and affect people's minds by releasing some kind of hallucinogenic gas. This is a biological weapon in the physical realm. Due to the timely reminder of the chip, Chen Mo's intake of poison gas was limited, so he felt that this scene looked fake. "Hey, did you encounter a demon beast?" Chen Mo pinched the soft neck of the red fox to interrupt its useless efforts. Ling. Me fox, a 6th grade demon beast, essence. 0.5, key essence. 6.1, corresponding to the 6th level of key training, knows some simple illusions, has not mastered offensive techniques, is timid, and is not dangerous. As a pet, it is deeply loved by female key practitioners. Chen Mo thought it was a mountain spirit teasing passers-by. The gate-guarding spirit beast Shishi King had a similar black history. But after groping in the red fox's soft hair for a while, Chen Mo found a circle of finely crafted silver rings, which seemed to be proof that it was raised by someone. Young Master's spirit is very strong, and it can even resist Hong Hong's magic. A captivating female voice was heard in the quiet forest, and a charming woman in red walked out from behind an ancient tree. She half-covered her red lips with an embroidered handkerchief, stared at Chen Mo with almond eyes that seemed to be angry and resentful, and begged, "Hong Hong is playful by nature and has offended Junior Brother. For the sake of being a fellow disciple of the Blood Robe sect, Junior Brother, please let Hong Hong go, how about that?" Chapter 41, The Evil Pit. Ling. Red-dressed woman, 6th level of key training, Jing Yuan. 4.5, Key Yuan. 6.1, dangerous, host, please be alert. Chen Mo's pupils shrank, and he couldn't help but pinch the red fox's neck tighter, causing it to groan in pain. "I am Zhan Hong Hong, willing to compensate my junior brother, please be merciful and don't torture Hong Hong, it hurts me." Zhan Hong Hong frowned slightly and begged in a low voice. Her charming look was enough to make even a hard-hearted man lose. And the words were ambiguous, and it was unclear whether she meant to not torture the red fox Hong Hong or the real Zhan Hong Hong. However, under the red-dressed woman's full efforts to tease, Chen Mo's inner uneasiness became even stronger. Ling. The host is disturbed by the charm spell, accompanied by the initial symptoms of accelerated heartbeat and dry mouth, which are not serious. But the energy level of this spell is increasing at a rate of 0.01 degrees per second. Please stay away from the influence of the spell force field immediately. Chen Mo hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhan Hong Hong again, but saw the red fox's big scarlet eyes. The red eyes were crystal clear and shining, staring at Chen Mo innocently, as if begging the big villain Chen Mo to let him go. The master and the pet are the same, with murderous intentions in their hearts, but pretending to be pitiful. How shameless. Chen Mo realized that under the interference of the illusion of one man and one beast, no matter how reluctant he was in his heart, he shamefully had a physiological reaction. The model of the maggot of tarsal bones, Technique has been established. Please inject Qi into the host. Chen Mo felt relieved and pretended to be infatuated. He gently threw the red fox to Zhan Honghong and asked shyly, "How should senior sister compensate me?" 10 steps away, Zhan Honghong caught the red fox with both hands. Seeing the red mark on its neck, she felt very distressed. However, she was not annoyed after hearing Chen Mo's unreasonable request. She replied, "Senior sister will accompany you to have an in-depth discussion in the second half of the night." As soon as the voice fell, Chen Mo, who seemed to have been unable to suppress his desire in her eyes, suddenly turned his head and went into the dense forest behind him. Zhan Honghong's pretty face flushed with anger, knowing that she was tricked by this cunning boy. "Oh, I took it for granted. If I can break free from the illusion created by Honghong, how can my temporary charm work?" Looking at Chen Mo's panicked back, Zhan Honghong licked her plump lips, but the words she said were creepy. "Young man, where can you run to in the deep mountains and old forests? It's better to give up resistance. After a bit of sexual intercourse, I will give you a breath and let you admire me for the last time." However, Zhan Honghong just freed one hand and untied a red ribbon on her waist, trying to chase after it with a flying device, but the red fox in one hand twisted uneasily. It turned out that a dark black stain suddenly appeared in the shiny fur on Honghong's back, occupying most of the body of the red fox in the blink of an eye. Zhan Honghong touched it with heartache, and even tore off a piece of bloody flesh with skin and fur. How could the delicate Honghong bear this kind of pain that life could not bear? Let out a shrill wail, rolled her eyes, and fainted. Zhan Honghong tore up several small rejuvenation talismans in a row, but only managed to contain the spread of the black spots. What was even more disgusting was that the black spots connected in a line, forming a thick and fat maggot shape behind the red fox, which was hideous and ugly. The maggots of the tarsal bones greatly strengthened the cold poison characteristics of the yin spirit energy. Once it enters the bone, the only way, except for the caster to remove it actively, is to scrape the bone to heal the wound. Zhan Honghong finally recognized this vicious spell, but she couldn't figure out how Chen Mo delayed the outbreak of the spell until the end of the play between the two. After being surprised, Zhan Honghong suddenly thought of the viral infectiousness of the maggots of the tarsal bones. With a tremor of her jade hand, she threw Honghong, whom she regarded as her daughter, to the ground. At this time, the fingertips of Zhan Honghong's 10 fingers, as tender as white jade, had been quietly stained with the same black spots. She took out an ice-condensing talisman with heartache, and split it into 2, sticking them on a pair of jade arms respectively. Unlike the common 5-element talismans, ice attribute talismans are a niche that few people have mastered. Therefore, even low-level talismans used in the key refining period are several times more expensive than the same level 5-element talismans, and are extremely rare. Zhan Honghong only purchased one. Feeling the refreshing coolness, the numbness and tingling from the black spots finally faded like a tide, and due to the freezing effect of the ice attribute spell, the body function of the infected area was reduced to the lowest, and the tarsal maggots could not spread through blood circulation in a short time. Without a second life-saving ice talisman, Zhan Honghong couldn't even take care of her beloved pet Honghong, and could only tell it to sleep first, and it won't hurt when you wake up. After being plotted against by Chen Mo, Zhan Honghong finally put away her superiority in front of her junior apprentice. Her charming face was covered with frost and murderous aura. "You are only at the 3rd level of key training. When your key is exhausted, I will torture you to tears and ecstasy." The red ribbon taken from her waist fluttered in the wind, gently wrapped Zhan Honghong, and her feet floated. In a breath, she was brought 100 meters away. Her speed was 0.5% faster than Chen Mo's speed of using wind gusts to travel. About 1,000 meters behind me, an abnormal spiritual energy fluctuation is generated. It is Zhan Honghong's spiritual energy force field, and it is constantly approaching the host at a very high speed. It is expected that within 10 miles, it will be able to catch up with the host. The biting cold wind cut her face like a knife, but Chen Mo didn't have the time to put on a spiritual energy mask to improve her comfort on the road. She didn't even dare to look back and buried her head forward. However, there were too many obstacles in the woods. The wanton growth of vines, thorns, and branches were the culprits that slowed down Chen Mo's running speed. Since Zhan Honghong was chasing too closely, Chen Mo did not have any extra time to cover up his traces, and therefore could not use the complex terrain to get rid of the pursuers. 108 response plans have been selected. and the option with the highest survival rate has reached 78%. The plan is as follows. The first step is to ask the host to go 30 degrees northeast and advance 1,800 meters. Before Chen Mo finished listening to the chip's trick, he increased his speed again and rushed to the destination. 78% survival rate, I'll take the gamble. Chen Mo knew that the chip was not an omniscient god after all. It was precious to be able to give the opponent's essence and key essence accurate values. It was impossible to find all of Zhang Honghong's trump cards through a simple scan. Therefore, if Zhang Honghong took out a bunch of low-level talismans from the storage bag and smashed them head-on, the 78% survival rate would have to drop. But Chen Mo had no choice. Even if the chip's computing power is extremely powerful, it can't calculate all the unexpected disasters. The latest novels are first published on the 69th Book Forum. Chen Mo smiled bitterly, thinking of the embroidered handkerchief that Zhang Honghong used to cover her lips. In comparison with the chip, it was 99.9% similar in style, color, and size to the one Yu Chang's used. Adulterer, accomplice. Chen Mo cursed inwardly to vent his anger, and finally came to the place where the chip preset his life. A pit that sunk 4 or 5 meters downward. However, the area of 10 meters was scattered with densely packed broken bones, many of which were human-shaped. The pale skulls rolled everywhere, making people's scalps shudder. Next to the corpses were broken armor and rusty broken swords. This is a natural evil pit, which was estimated to have been formed a week ago. Because too much evil energy was generated in a short period of time, the soil could not cover it, so it broke through the restraints, splashed the soil, and created this open-air pit. The chip has been monitoring Chen Mo's environment in real time. It found an abnormality in the value of a certain spiritual energy factor in the air, and then deduced the specific location of the evil pit, and recommended Chen Mo to fight for his life with Zhang Honghong at this advantageous location. The black mist-like evil energy continuously overflowed from the pit, spreading to the surrounding area like a snail. The weeds, vines, and ancient trees covered along the way seemed to have been drained of their vitality by the evil energy, and became withered and dull at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was no small life around, and even the earthworms and digging worms commonly seen in the dark soil had left this place of death. The analysis is complete. This evil spirit is a war spirit. The fair-scaling environment in the battlefield can give rise to the iron-blooded evil spirit. After years of precipitation, it gradually degenerates into the war spirit in front of the host. Although the war spirit has lost the strong bloody smell of the iron-blooded evil spirit, 87% of the killing intention generated in the battle formation has been retained and can be absorbed by the host's shroud. The chip chose this evil spirit battlefield to exert the power of the shroud. In addition to the evil spirit body forging, the Yin Sha corpse shroud method also comes with a secret technique for refining the heart and blood talisman. The shroud that Chen Mo has been wrapped around his body and has never taken off is the only designated talisman that can be used for refining in the secret technique. A gentleman hides his weapon in his body, nourishes the cloth with his body, derives the evil spirit, and waits for the right time to act. This is the description of how to sacrifice the shroud in the Yin Sha corpse shroud method. In short, while the evil spirit is forging the body, some rain and dew are also distributed to the shroud. With the essence and blood that Chen Mo is forced to expel every time he forges his body, over time, this shroud becomes a spiritual talisman that only Chen Mo can use. This process does not require the assistance of any equipment refiner, nor does it need to add other spiritual materials. Every time Chen Mo endures the pain of evil spirit filling his body, the shroud is sacrificed and refined. When fighting with others, the shroud is the most suitable talisman that can communicate with each other, and has the effect of hurting the enemy and protecting the body. Chen Mo no longer hesitated, took off the gray robe that had been torn by branches during the escape, gritted his teeth and jumped into the pit. As soon as he entered the bottom of the pit with the highest concentration of evil spirit, the shroud burst into dazzling cold light, and the free war spirits around him swarmed like moths. In the blink of an eye, they put a thin black veil of evil spirit on Chen Mo. The golden arhat image that had been described once appeared in his sea of consciousness, and the burning sensation on Chen Mo's skin instantly disappeared. After all, he was not practicing the Yin Sha corpse shroud technique now, but letting the shroud open to absorb the war evil, so the evil energy was absorbed to Chen Mo's body surface at most, and did not cause the severe pain of scraping the skin and washing the marrow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Physical Training Requires Frontal Combat. At the bottom of the pit, the shroud showed its extraordinary power and began its performance. The amount of free evil spirit it absorbed was terrifying. The scattered war spirits gathered into black tornadoes and whistled into the shroud. The number and concentration were so high that the original bright red color of the shroud was dyed black and red, returning to a low profile. With this layer of dark color, Chen Mo, who had wrapped himself into a mummy, looked like a big zombie that had just crawled out of the cemetery, exuding a chilling evil spirit. No one in the blood-clothes building wanted this shroud, and the contribution points required for exchange were low, but in my hands, it is the best material for practicing the Yin Sha Corpse Shroud technique. The ultimate state of the way of refining is to select the most suitable spiritual material and make it play 100%, or even 200% of its effect. The war spirit contained a fierce killing intent, and even made Chen Mo's skin, which was covered by the black veil of evil spirit, feel a faint tingling sensation. After imagining the tragic scene of the evil spirit hurting the enemy for a while, Chen Mo showed a sympathetic smirk to Zhan Honghong, who had just arrived. Zhan Honghong obviously did not expect that the slippery Chen Mo could run so fast. When she came to the edge of the earth pit, her full chest rose and fell violently, her forehead was full of crystal sweat drops, and even the red ribbons around her were swinging up and down, as if stretching the overworked delicate body. Do you think that your sister can't bite you just because you wrapped a thick layer of clothes? Wait a minute, your sister will peel you off layer by layer, carefully. Don't let your sister cry in pain. Zhan Honghong licked her dry lips and said faintly, her sharp eyes staring at Chen Mo's only pair of exposed black eyes, not hiding her fiery desire. Zhan Honghong, before you get squeezed, can you tell me how Yu Chang's persuaded you to fight me? I remember that he was penniless after his defeat in the insect fight. Before the fight, Chen Mo wanted to understand the whole story of how he was killed by the witch Zhan Honghong. Even the chip could not analyze where Yu Chang's got the money to use a 6th-level inner disciple. There are so many young chickens of the right age and with full muscles available for picking. Why did you choose me? Just because I have a dark complexion. Zhan Honghong took out the same handkerchief as Yu Chang's, lightly covered her red lips, and revealed an aftertaste expression. It seems that the clever little guy has seen the glue from this brocade handkerchief. Waving the silky handkerchief, Zhan Honghong's jade fingers carefully stroked a blooming daisy pattern on it, and reminisced, Yu Lang has no spirit stones, but he can pay with his body. He and I lingered for a day and a night, and the capital was sufficient. It's a pity that I went too far and he died, and even missed the opportunity to see the head of your enemy before he died. Zhan Honghong shamelessly spoke about the matter of taking yang to replenish yin, and at the end she squeezed out a few crystal tears, looking like she was deeply in love with Yu Lang. Little thief, I wanted to free you when your body was in bliss, but you hurt Honghong in my hands that are good at sewing, so I can only let you taste the pain of having your yang energy and blood extracted alive. Zhan Honghong put away her crocodile tears and looked at Chen Mo's lower body viciously. Before the conversation, the evil spirit in the pit had been absorbed and there was not much left, so Zhan Honghong did not notice the abnormality of the environment. Seeing that Chen Mo did not escape, she was not in a hurry to fulfill Yu Chang's will of selling herself for revenge. Chen Mo continued to delay time by talking to ensure that the shroud had time to completely control the remaining war evil spirits. Yu Chang's has the capital, but I don't? Don't forget, I am 17 or 18 years younger than this old bacon. Zhan Honghong, however, commented as if she had heard a joke, with your charcoal-like face, how can you compare with a handsome scholar like Yu Lang? What I want is not just the pleasure of vulgar flesh, but to recite poems and write couplets with a handsome face under the flowers and moonlight. If the shroud had not covered his face, Chen Mo's black face would have been 3 shades darker, and he would blurt out, whether the face is black or white, it's the same when the lights are turned off. Chen Mo originally wanted to continue to pretend to be nice and use the Magpie Bridge Fairy, Firm Cloud Play, in the first database to capture the heart of the talented woman, but the chip's reminder sounded in his mind, the war evil has been absorbed and can be released to hurt the enemy. Chen Mo took action. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind blew up from the pit. The shroud wrapped around Chen Mo fluttered in the wind, extending 5 or 6 meters in length. Without exposing an inch of his skin, it shot towards Zhao Chengjue. The surging war spirits automatically condensed into sharp cold rays, piercing Zhao Chengjue like arrows. Before the cold edge even touched her, it messed up Zhao Chenjue's black hair and made her gauze-like red dress rustle. The war spirit took shape and hurt the enemy with its ki. The shroud that absorbed a lot of evil spirits could shoot out the war spirits as long as Chen Mo moved his mind. It was comparable to an instantaneous magic, and its exquisiteness was even better than the red copper ring passed down from Hu Guang's ancestors. Ling. The battle evil is released, energy level 6 degrees, Zhao Chengjue has an 89% chance of minor injury. As expected of a talisman that was carefully refined, Chen Mo, with only the 3rd level of ki training, instantly released this spell that was enough to threaten a ki practitioner at the 6th level. Not counting the amplification effect of external conditions such as formations and spiritual energy on the spell energy level, a spell with an initial energy level of 1 degree often requires 1.0 ki yuan to be released quickly. Therefore, the power of a ki practitioner's spell is usually linked to the ki yuan reserve in the ki C of the caster at a 1:1 ratio. Zhao Chengjue was stunned. She didn't expect that Chen Mo's casual attack was not inferior to that of an inner disciple at the 6th level of ki training. This boy is extremely talented. His taste and yin nourishing effects must be far superior to Yu Chang's. I must get him. Secretly happy, Zhao Chengjue wanted to torture Chen Mo even more and squeeze out his last tear. The red ribbons around him automatically protected the master, forming a translucent red curtain in front of Zhao Chengjue. The sharp arrow of the war evil spirit hit it, making a pleasant and crisp sound. Although the surface of the red curtain flashed, it blocked Chen Mo's sneak attack. Only a trace of the war evil spirit's sharpness penetrated the blockage and left a long bloodline on Zhao Chenjue's pretty face. Touching the dripping blood beads, Zhao Chengjue showed a cat-playing mouse smile and sneered, "Brother Chen, the more you struggle, the more excited I am. Don't let me play with you in 10 breaths." However, Chen Mo counted the distance between the two, laughed sarcastically, kicked his feet, and flew to the right side of Zhao Chengjue. "Don't get close to the body cultivators, didn't anyone teach you? The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar." Chen Mo shouted loudly, and the distance between him and Zhao Chengjue had been shortened to within 10 steps. The evil spirit transformed into form, but it was just an instantaneous magic attached to the shroud. Moreover, since it was Chen Mo's first time to manipulate the war spirit, his methods were extremely crude. The hasty sneak attack just now did not have the strong penetrating power to break through the surface with a point. The correct way to open the shroud is to use it as a weapon that combines offense and defense, rush through the baptism of magic, and combine Chen Mo's strong physique to fight in close combat. Strength penetrated his right arm, and muscles bulged like an angry dragon. To Zhao Chenjue's surprise, Chen Mo punched out. The part of the shroud flying freely around him seemed to have spirituality. It took the initiative to knot and entangle at the edge of the fist, forming a sharp cone, which was deeply embedded in the red curtain. The two collided violently, and dust flew. Because Chen Mo exerted his dark power, he expanded the vibration frequency and vibration range through the swing of his arms, causing dense ripples to appear on the red curtain. Zhao Chengjue was fighting with a physical cultivator for the first time, and felt a strong sense of discomfort. Unlike ordinary Kigen practitioners who keep their distance, manipulate the talisman to protect their bodies, and use magic, talismans or a second talisman to attack the enemy, Chen Mo, a physical cultivator, actually has no fighting etiquette as a cultivator, and just throws himself forward like a vulgar mortal warrior. Zhao Chengjue was caught off guard. Because she was too close to the protective shield formed by the red ribbon, she was forced to bleed by the shock force transmitted from a distance. Her delicate body trembled and she almost collapsed to the ground. Fortunately, Zhao Chengjue has rich experience in fighting, and has brought disaster to countless young men who fought hard but were still squeezed dry, so she immediately launched a counter magic. The fresh blood that just spurted out cannot be wasted. Zhao Chengjue directly touched the blood mist and spat out the word "gather." The scattered blood condensed into a drop of blood, suspended in the air. Then, Zhao Chengjue pointed at the red curtain protective shield under Chen Mo's fist rain, and the drop of blood merged directly into it, making it emit a dazzling red light. In the dazzling light, the originally smooth ribbon protective shield actually gave birth to sharp barbs. Chen Mo's fist was too strong and he had no time to retract it. In just a few breaths, The fists protected by the shroud were already bleeding. Tick tick tick, the blood drop fell to the ground like water, and Zhao Chengjue also successfully calmed down the feeling of chest tightness and retreated 10 steps. But if you defend for a long time, you will lose. The red shield also broke into pieces at the same time, and even the red ribbon that transformed it was shaken by Chen Mo's iron fist and fell softly to the ground. With a key connected, the owner of this talisman, Zhao Chengjue, also had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Chen Mo had just broken through, and before he could be happy, a scorching fireball came towards him. During the flight, it transformed into a phantom of a skylark with wings spread, reflecting Zhao Chenjue's exquisite control over the magic. The fire skylark magic, under the amplification of Zhao Chenjue's 6 fire spirit veins, has reached a level of 7.1, and the host's survival rate of hard resistance is 93%. However, after the battle, a large amount of war evil will be consumed to repair the damaged muscles, so it is better to resist and quickly resolve the battle. Chen Mo made up his mind and placed the remaining corpse shrouds on the throat, lower body, left chest and other vital points, then took out a backing tortoise shell, put another layer on the outside, closed his eyes, and rushed straight to the beak of the burning skylark. Chapter 43, A Tragic Victory, Burying Oneself to Heal Wounds. After the collision, Chen Mo felt as if he was in a furnace. Every inch of his skin was sizzling. It was burning and numb, and he wanted to scratch it. However, Chen Mo would bleed to death. In addition, the sharp beak of the fire lark had condensed into substance. Even with the protection of several layers of shroud, Chen Mo felt a piercing pain in the moment of the collision. His chest and abdomen felt cold, and he knew that a hole the size of a baby's fist had been opened on it. Chen Mo dodged in time. Zhao Chengjue showed a regretful expression, and prayed secretly, "This excellent yin-nourishing spiritual material, please don't let it be burned by fire." However, after a while, Chen Mo, who was charred all over, rushed out of the sea of fire. The earth spirit stone inlaid on the backer tortoise shell had been transparent and shattered. With a gurgle, the entire tortoise shell rolled aside, but the shroud was extremely tough and still tightly attached to Chen Mo. The distance was shortened again, and Zhao Chengjue even heard Chen Mo's heavy breathing. He threw out the last few talismans one after another. However, the low-level water arrows, wooden spikes, and stone-breaking spells could not even stop Chen Mo for a breath, and he approached without dodging. The woman in red stood in front of him, trembling. Chen Mo was ferocious, without any mercy, and hugged Zhao Chengjue around the waist with both hands, and at the same time, his right knee hid her lower abdomen. The humanoid beast in front of him exuded a pungent smell of burning, which made Zhao Chengjue, who believed in appearance, look extremely disgusted. However, she did not have time to dodge. In a panic, Zhao Chengjue shouted tenderly, and her red dress expanded by 3 points. It turned out to be a defensive talisman. Before Chen Mo tightened his bare arms, he won a small space for himself to escape. Although Zhao Chengjue was not good at martial arts, the nourishment of spiritual energy day and night had greatly improved her body's flexibility and agility. She still had the strength to move after taking Chen Mo's knee strike. Suppressing the reverse blood, Zhao Chengjue twisted her thin waist along the narrow space opened by the red robe talisman, and actually got out of Chen Mo's bear hug. With only a single piece of clothing left on her body, and bleeding from her mouth and nose, Zhao Chengjue looked at Chen Mo with resentment, and did not bother to entangle with him anymore. She directed the red robe she had just taken off to roll in the opposite direction, firmly controlling Chen Mo. Sticking the last 2 remaining magic talismans in her hand to her bare feet, Zhao Chengjue ran towards the sect without looking back. However, under Chen Mo's desperate close pressure, she gave up this piece of good material for replenishing and fled in a hurry. However, Chen Mo, whose feet were tied by the sleeves of the red robe, showed a mocking smile. Zhao Chengjue had just taken 3 steps away when a thin shroud was wrapped around the ankle of her right foot. The shroud, which was only 5 or 6 meters long, became much more ductile under the infiltration of the war spirit. It not only became 5 meters longer, but also had the ability to split. The shroud that was wrapped around Zhao Chengjue was the one that had just split. Zhao Chengjue was so anxious that she forgot to use her magic. Her delicate hands desperately tore at the rough black and red cloth, but she couldn't shake it at all. What's worse, due to the loss of Qi Yuan, the remaining poison of the frozen tarsal maggots began to become active. Zhao Chengjue, who was tearing the shroud in vain, was horrified to find that the black spots on her fingertips were quietly spreading. In addition, the war spirit on the shroud also penetrated into Zhao Chengjue body little by little, and the sharp evil spirit began to tear her internal organs. The evil spirit filling her body was an extremely unbearable pain for Chen Mo, who practiced the Yin Sha shroud method. Without the golden body art visualization method to reduce the pain, Zhao Chengjue soon became unconscious under the torture of the evil spirit. In a moment, Chen Mo felt his whole body lighten, and the red talisman that bound his feet slid to the ground powerlessly, regaining his freedom. It's finally over. Chen Mo let out a long breath, trying hard not to fall asleep. He looked up at Zhao Chengjue and found that she had died under the torture of the evil spirit and the remaining poison of the tarsal maggot. If her Qi Yuan could still support the binding effect of the red dress for a moment, maybe I would have died before her. Chen Mo secretly rejoiced. Forcibly activating the shroud to hurt the enemy has a remarkable effect, but the evil spirit contained in it is a double-edged sword that hurts the enemy and oneself. After resisting the fire skylark technique, Chen Mo was already at the end of his strength. If the chip hadn't forcibly stimulated Chen Mo's brain, he would have been unable to withstand the torture of the evil spirit and fainted before Zhao Chengjue. In that case, Zhao Chengjue would have done whatever she wanted to Chen Mo's motionless body. The host can bury himself at the bottom of the pit, and gradually repair the damaged muscles with the help of the nourishment of the evil spirit. The healing suggestion of the chip made Chen Mo smile bitterly. It seems that this is going to make me go to the end of the road of becoming a living zongzi. However, in order to quickly recover the power of self-protection in the dangerous forest, Chen Mo could only stagger to the bottom of the pit, wrapped in a thicker layer of shroud, groped to find the evil spirit spring, and buried himself in a pile of old bones near it. As for the body of Zhao Chengjue on the side, Chen Mo, who has only half a breath left, did not dare to have the evil idea of touching the corpse. If I don't have the strength to roll to the bottom of the pit, and faint outside while touching the corpse, I might be bitten off the throat by a wild beast that came here to explore. Chen Mo remembered the word stable in his heart. Even if he coveted the storage bag on Zhao Chengjue body that was worth at least 100 low-level spirit stones, he could only throw it outside first. Life is important. The nourishing effect of the evil spirit is still good. As long as the body absorbs it in moderation, it will only slowly increase the physique of the practitioner of the Yin Sha shroud method. This is the principle of applying the evil spirit to the whole body and improving a little bit every day. Because the evil pit was almost sucked dry by the shroud, the outlet of the evil spirit was already in a semi-wasted state, and there was not much new war evil spirit that slowly overflowed. However, this amount of evil spirit was just right for Chen Mo, who was buried in the state of healing. As for the shroud, the remaining war evil spirit inside also overflowed a little bit, combined with the new evil spirit from the outlet of the evil spirit, together repairing Chen Mo's damaged body. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Host Chen Mo, Essence. 7.5, Key. 3.1, Status, Injury has just healed. It is not suitable to fight with others within 10 days, otherwise the wound will break again. After 6 or 7 days, Chen Mo woke up quietly to the wake-up ring of the chip, and found that the bones, armor, and broken swords around him had weathered for the most part, and they turned into a ball of ash when touched carelessly. I don't know how many years ago these old things are. Without the evil spirit at the bottom of the pit to isolate the air, they are exposed to the outside and will be in a mess in just a few days. Chen Mo sighed at the ruthlessness of time, touched the penetrating wound on his chest and abdomen, and found that granulation tissue had grown and scarred to heal itself, so he felt relieved. Then Chen Mo found that his essence had increased by 0.4 after a sleep, and he was happy. Sure enough, fighting is a good way to improve. When I forcefully use the evil spirit to hurt the enemy, the war spirit that emanates from the shroud also automatically tempers my body, and because I am highly focused during the battle, I can't feel the intense pain during the training at all. Chen Mo figured out the unexpected joy of improving his essence, but for the sake of his life, he gave up the training plan of pushing himself to the brink of death and improving his essence. After all, there's only one life, and if the vitals are injured, the powerful chip can't save himself even if it uses electric shock therapy. After sorting out Zhao Chengjue belongings, Chen Mo found that the beautiful woman, who was originally thousands of miles away, had already exuded a rotten stench after several days of wind, rain and sun. He couldn't help but sigh. Even if it is a key practitioner who gathers ki to cultivate himself, His life is gone, and the end is exactly the same as that of a mortal who rots and grows maggots after death. After a careful exploration, Chen Mo's wealth has skyrocketed. There are still 40 or 50 low-level spirit stones in the storage bag, plus 2 slightly damaged low-level talismans, the red dress and the red ruben. Although in order to prevent the spread of rumors in the sect that Chen Mo is ruthless and kills fellow disciples, Chen Mo must go to the market outside the sect to sell these 2 highly recognizable items owned by Zhan Honghong. But no matter how much he lowers the price, he can always get 300 low-level spiritual stones in total. If he does a few more jobs, the income will not be comparable to that of the gushy insect farm that has just started on the right track. If you want to sell more spiritual stones, you can only rely on the bargaining psychology of Chip. Chen Mo is very satisfied with the harvest that came to his door, but it's a pity that the red fox's spiritual material was wasted. It was poisoned by the tarsal maggot. Calculating the time, it has now turned into a pool of blood. If a small creature passing by licks it, it will have tragic consequences of being heartbroken. After Chen Mo finished packing, he took out a set of neat gray robes, put them on, and performed the cloud flying technique to leave this evil pit. If you keep your head down and hurry, your sight will not be as good as flying at low altitude. Otherwise, you would not have missed Zhan Honghong's tracking before. Chen Mo learned his lesson and did not seek to hurry, but to find the revenge killer in advance. Anyway, this place is close to the border of Qingyi County, the spiritual energy is thin, and it is extremely difficult to encounter powerful flying monsters. Chen Mo is exposed in the air, and there is no risk of falling due to hatred. With Yu Cheng's small body, it is only enough to sell himself once, and to deal with Zhan Honghong, and the feud with him will end here. Chen Mo, who was slowly rising into the air, was not worried about the unknown enemy in the sky. He rode the dark clouds and floated away. He also lowered his head to observe the earth pit below and understood the reason why the evil spirit could be generated here. This place is low-lying, and it is in the gap between 2 adjacent hills in the shade. It is not exposed to sunlight all year round. In addition, a small fighting field formed underground for unknown reasons. The yin energy condensed and did not dissipate. Over the years, it is normal to generate war evil spirits. It's a pity that the absorption of the shroud makes it impossible for the evil spirit to return to its former state without more than 100 years of accumulation. Chen Mo recalled the comfort of lying at the bottom of the pit to heal his wounds, and gave this feng shui treasure land a score of 60. It's a pity that it is abandoned now, otherwise it can be transformed into a healing cave for me to stay temporarily. Chen Mo discovered that he had mastered a magical ability after practicing the yin sha shroud method. Relying on his body sense, he could pretend to be a feng shui master. As long as he lies down casually, he can know whether the place where he sleeps is a dangerous place where evil spirits breathe through his keen perception of evil spirits and yin energy. The deeper and more sweet your sleep, the more evil the place where you lie is. Chapter 44, Clouds and Rain. Chen Mo rode the clouds and mist, and within 10 days he entered the territory of Qingyi County. Below the clouds that obscured Chen Mo's figure, small mountain villages with curling smoke appeared one after another. Ordinary people were busy like ants in the terraces, mountain streams, and basins, and folk songs with strong accents were floating above the ridges. The familiar smell of fireworks made Chen Mo stop and recall his childhood in Jinan Kingdom. During the spring plowing, the little brats who were still wearing open crotch pants often followed their father to the military fields. When Chen Dingman was on duty and training soldiers, he would go down to the paddy fields to play in the mud, and by the way, he would pull up a group of child soldiers to catch eels and touch small fish in the rice fields. Thinking of the monkeys rolling in the mud with his friends when he was young, Chen Mo smiled knowingly. At this time, he noticed that below, there were 8 or 9 farmers diverting water to dozens of acres of terraces. The rice planted in the field should be a kind of wild rice, which does not need to be watered every day. It is still green seedlings now, but they are growing very well. The roots, stems, branches and leaves are much thicker than the various rice crops in Chen Mo's childhood memory. I don't know if the feng shui of Qingyi County is better and more conducive to rice. However, the most basic freshwater irrigation is still needed for wild rice. The water level of these dozens of acres of terraced fields is low, and it can't even submerge the ankles of babies. Because the hillside is difficult to walk, there is no labor-saving water channel yet. The farmers carry water back and forth and work hard. Everyone is sweating profusely, but for this year's livelihood, they grit their teeth and persist. However, It will take at least 2 days to reach the required irrigation volume for wild rice. The scene brings back emotions. I stayed here for a while. It is also our fate. Chen Mo was so excited that he wanted to help him. Gather. Chen Mo made a hand gesture and used the light gray clouds on the soles of his feet as a guide to mobilize the water vapor around him. Although there is no water spirit bane, Chen Mo's Qi Yuan is already very high. It is not difficult to forcefully condense the free water spirit energy to rain. In a moment, dark clouds rolled in the sky, and there was already a scene of a mountain rain. Chen Mo waved his hand, and a gloomy wind appeared out of thin air, bringing a small-scale cold air. When it merged with the dark clouds that had been prepared long ago, a shower of big beans began to fall. It was the dozens of acres of terraced fields below that were covered. The heavy rain soaked the coarse cloth clothes of the farmers, but they did not care to hide from the rain, letting the rain soak their bodies. They looked up at the sky and cheered with joy. God has shown his power, it's raining. Yes, it's been more than 20 days since there have been any raindrops falling from the sky. It's really timely rain, otherwise, I don't know how many times I would have to go up and down the hill today, and I would be exhausted like an old ox. The hidden figure and the casual act of bringing rain made mortals grateful, and Chen Mo had a deeper understanding of the power of Qigong practitioners. Once you practice Qi, the paths of immortals and mortals are different. This is true. Low-level disciples like me who practice Qi at the 3rd level can manipulate the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and change the celestial phenomena on a small scale, let alone the high-level cultivators of the immortal sect. Thinking that the righteous and evil sects have not condensed immortal forces under their jurisdiction into a unified immortal dynasty empire, Chen Mo has a deeper guess. Perhaps the helmsman of the immortal sect also despises the millions or tens of millions of mortal armies. Instead of spending time and energy managing so many people, it is better to master more magic and improve their cultivation. For some reason, the power of Qian Dragon Qi can only be exerted at its strongest within the empire. After leaving the empire, except for the spiritual deserts like the subcontinent, the concentration of spiritual energy in the environment is enough to support ordinary Qi practitioners to perform magic, which greatly increases the lethality to warriors. As one rises, the other falls. In the battle between the immortal sect and the Qian Empire, the latter can only close its doors to the outside world through the Dragon Qi, so it has always been at a disadvantage and is the party being beaten. Under normal circumstances, no soldier of the Qian Empire dared to invade the subordinate forces of the immortal sect, otherwise they would surely be attacked by the large-scale magic of the supernatural power cultivators, and the whole army would be annihilated. Only the people of the Qian Locking Immortal Division could sneak in through the cultivation of the Qigong cultivators, but like the warriors' hidden pawns, once they jump around too much, they will definitely be hunted down to death by the supernatural power cultivators. If they meet the people of the demon sect, they can also enjoy the extra meal of soul extraction and spirit refining. When you are happy, the nectar will fall, and when you are angry, all things will wither. Chen Mo savored the sense of control as a cultivator, who is high above and controlled the farming and harvesting of all living beings. This Taoist friend is in a good mood. I am Ding Man. I would like to thank you for your kindness in making clouds and rain on behalf of my fellow villagers. Not far away, a young man in his 30s was wobbling and flying towards Chen Mo on a blue auspicious cloud. Your magic skills are really poor. You are not afraid of falling down. The proficiency of the man's cloud flying technique made Chen Mo unable to bear to look directly. Ding Man's voice was very loud, and Chen Mo could hear it clearly even though he was hundreds of meters away. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shu Bar. After he shouted like that, Chen Mo no longer used the dark clouds to cover his figure, otherwise it would seem that his behavior of making rain at will was too sneaky. The farmer below might be suspicious and have to check the quality of the rainwater. Ding Man. Qi Yuan. 2.1, Jing Yuan. 3.1, extremely low threat. Chen Mo was so frank because the visitor was weak and could be killed with a flick of his hand. When the farmers below saw that Chen Mo was covered in a gray robe and did not look like a good person, they even lowered their voices of thanks and quickly looked away and bowed their heads to show respect. Fortunately, Chen Mo was not a calculative person and did not take it to heart. Brother Taoisting, you are too polite. I was just passing by here and I just wanted to make it rain. Chen Mo waved his hand, and then, at Ding Man's invitation, he descended on the ridge of the field. Ding Man was a talkative person, and Chen Mo found out his innocent family background without any tricks. He was a descendant of the side branch of the Ding family in Qinghai County. During the New Year's ancestor worship, he was found to have the talent of a water-type useless spiritual vein. After 15 years of hard training, he only reached the second level of key training. Now he is responsible for managing the Ding family's farms in various parts of the county. Looking at the way Brother Chen is dressed, could it be that you are a member of the blood-clothed sect? My elders were outer disciples of your sect. Brother Chen, if you want to go to the county city, why don't you let me lead the way? Ding Man couldn't see Chen Mo's appearance clearly, but seeing that he was very relaxed when he made it rain, he called him Brother Chen. Although the master is the one who has achieved great success in the cultivation world, Chen Mo is only 13 years old now. If he reveals his true age, he will still give people the impression that he is unreliable. Therefore, he lowered his voice and continued to maintain the identity of Brother Chen. Very good, I will wait for a fellow Taoisting to deal with the chores before we set off together. Chen Mo also wanted to find a local snake to find out the news in the county city, so as to provide the chip with some information that can be used to speculate on the whereabouts of the Kainitan Empire's hidden agents. At the same time, Chen Mo also wanted to see the changes that cultivators have brought to the lives of mortals, so he followed Ding Man and wandered around the fields. Chapter 45, Going to the Countryside? Walking in the countryside, Ding Man did not feel superior as a practitioner. Whether it was an octogenarian or a child, he greeted them with a pleasant face and chatted with them. Instead, the village head came to pay his respects with a cane, calling him Master Immortal all the time, very respectfully, and even took out the treasured mountain first tea to offer to Chen Mo to taste. After taking a sip, although there was no spiritual energy, the fragrance lingered on the lips and teeth, and it had a refreshing feeling of the mountains. Chen Mo said good, which made the white beard of the village head, who was over 60 years old, tremble with joy. Brother Chen, my cultivation is shallow. Even if it is to make clouds and rain, it will take me half a day. You just saved me most of the energy. Ding Man kept talking while he was busy. He fixed a water wheel with a spiritual arm, and the farmers next to him hurriedly hammered on it and installed the joints. Seeing Ding Man's sweaty forehead, they knew he couldn't hold on for much longer. It's just that my method of improving the lives of ordinary people is too inefficient. Even if I work hard without sleep, I can only make the harvests of a few villages improve by a pitiful 30% to 40%. Ding Man sighed and looked forward to the place where immortals and mortals enjoy themselves together that he had heard about. It is said that there has been a recent trend among the righteous to encourage Kigan practitioners to enter the world. They advocate using formations, refining equipment, refining pills, performing large-scale spells, etc. to improve the lives of mortals, and it seems that they don't charge spirit stones for it. It's much more efficient than my hard work. It is said that during the autumn harvest, there are so many rice grains that they have to be stored in storage bags. Then he said carelessly, I don't know when this trend will blow to the jurisdiction of my demon sect. Instead of sending technical personnel such as equipment refiners and formation masters, it would be better to send some low-level Kigan practitioners who are willing to go to the countryside. Chen Mo laughed when he heard this, and thought to himself, if the demon sect's supernatural power cultivators heard what you said, they would definitely be slapped to death. With their indifferent nature of looking down on mortals as grass, they will only take a look at them when they recruit new blood every year. Chen Mo also thought that the righteous path, which even charged 10 low-level spirit stones as tuition for admitting new students, would not be so kind to help mortals. It is estimated that the real purpose is to expand the population of mortals, so that more spiritual veins with qualifications that are picked from thousands of miles away will appear, and some warriors will be trained by the way, so that they can learn martial arts and fight for life and death with their peers who are loyal to the Kainitan Empire. Chen Mo is not naive to think that all the people in the righteous way of the Immortal Gate are good people who sacrifice themselves for the public. In Chen Mo's cognition, the righteous way is an organized and disciplined collective that advocates teamwork and has a set of relatively lawful and neutral principles when doing things, but once it involves a dispute over interests, it will also be sanctimonious and underground. The demon gate is much more casual, acting according to one's will, believing in the law of the jungle, and convincing people with reason. It is rich in lone rangers who suppress the same level, and only care about plundering resources and advancing to the broken mirror. Who cares about the flood after death? Analogous to the secular world, it is like the difference between officers and soldiers and Jianghu rangers. Therefore, when dealing with the Kainitan Empire, over the past 1,000 years, The two sides have gradually taken different paths. It is estimated that recently, seeing that the righteous sect cannot do anything to the Khianian Empire, it wants to support a mortal force within its own sphere of influence, using warriors and mortal troops to consume the opponent's military strength. And the demon sect is still the same as before, snatching students everywhere, raising poisonous insects, and threshing grass. The bloody and barbaric set of jungle laws can be played for thousands of years. Chen Mo didn't care which of the two forces of the immortal sect would win in the end, and was too lazy to let the chip calculate the winner. However, Chen Mo was very interested in the righteous way of developing mortal civilization with the means of Khigan practitioners, and let Ding Man tell him about it. For example, this water wheel can be engraved with a spirit formation to gather water vapor, so that the villagers can enjoy the convenience of water conservancy even in the dry season. The mountain rat is a 9th grade demon beast. Brother Chen must have heard of it. As long as it is tamed, it will be very easy to divert ordinary rivers and build roads in mountains, which can save the poor people from hard labor. There is also the arrangement of a fertile soil formation, covering the plains within a radius of 100 miles. In this way, there will be a precious land with a bumper harvest every year. Ding Man talked incessantly, and the more he spoke, the more exaggerated he became. Chen Mo thought about it and knew that the final plan was too outrageous. The consumption of spirit stones for the formation was huge. Presumably, no one would be willing to pay out of their own pocket to allow mortals to fill their stomachs. When practitioners enter the world to kill monsters that eat people alive and capture spiritual plants that have become spirits, it is not because they are worried about the suffering of the people and righteously kill demons and eliminate demons, but because they covet the spiritual materials on these evildoers. Chen Mo was in the demon sect and found that the disciples with potential and aspirations stayed in the mountain gate all day and night to practice with concentration. Even if they went out, they took tasks to earn contribution points. Only those who had no hope for the future would leave the sect and go to the secular world to establish a family of immortal cultivation. Therefore, Chen Mo had a deep understanding of the nature of practitioners who would not do anything without profit. Only Ding Man had never gone far away and only practiced Qi in the small place of Qinghai County. His vision was too narrow and he had beautiful fantasies about the outside world. Seeing that Ding Man had not finished his work, Chen Mo sighed, condensed a black and gray arm, and helped him. The yin spiritual arm he used was much stronger, fixing several adjacent water wheels together, making it easier for more people to work together. The spiritual arm also has a cooling function, which makes the naked peasants who keep wiping sweat cooler and work faster. After drinking a cup of mountain tea, you can help me. Chen Mo gave a hand to the village head who was serving beside him, asking him not to pay a big respect. The latest novels are published on the 69th book bar. Ding Man's pressure to maintain the magic model was suddenly relieved, and he returned the favor and said, "Brother Chen is really kind-hearted. Don't worry, Ding Man also has some faith in Qinghai County. If you have anything to do, just let me handle it." In the next half an hour, Chen Mo really saw how Ding Man improved people's livelihood. It was an eye-opener. When helping the sows of the neighboring Wang family give birth, he performed a small rejuvenation technique to prevent the mother pig from bleeding and dying. He gathered a cluster of spiritual fire to melt scrap iron and cast a batch of excellent farm tools that were as good as those made by the old blacksmith. Wang Ergao's granddaughter had a skin disease caused by parasites and was itchy. Ding Man prescribed a medicine and then gathered a large pile of ice cubes and buried them in the cellar, asking her to apply it externally from time to time. When he walked out of the boudoir, he was grabbed by the belt by this beautiful girl, begging her to serve him as a slave. Ding Man's face turned red like a monkey's butt and he kept saying, "I dare not." Chen Mo was stunned by Ding Man's meticulous service to the villagers, and thought to himself, is there any reserve and self-esteem of a Khigan practitioner? Ding Man also explained the reason. He was actually born in the mountains. If he had not had the blood of the Ding family's collateral branch and the opportunity to test the immortal posture, he might be digging for food in the ridges of the fields now. Therefore, Ding Man always regarded himself as one of the ordinary people and treated mortals equally. Ding Man's personality model is established. He is kind and simple, and he is not good at fighting. It is expected that he will not be able to beat even a 5th-grade divine warrior. Chen Mo was silent. With such a mentality, he will definitely not survive more than 3 days in the Demon Gate. In the end, with a warm farewell of the village head and the resentful eyes of the sick little girl, the two of them rode on a dark cloud and headed to Qinghai County City. It was not that the two of them had a good conversation and did not want to separate for a minute. But Chen Mo disliked that Ding Man's cloud flying technique was too slow to travel, wasting time, so he expanded the cloud under his feet by 3 points and brought one more person. Chapter 46, Ding Mansion News. Chen Mo and Ding Man stepped on the dark cloud and slowly landed in front of the Ding Mansion. The Kigen practitioner's tricks did not surprise the pedestrians on both sides. They only secretly glanced at the unusually large dark cloud, bowed their heads respectfully to the two, and hurried away. The great man is hidden in the city. The layout of your mansion is obviously the work of a master. It is full of spiritual energy. The mansion in front of them occupied 2/5 of the area in the center of the county city. There were continuous houses, pavilions and towers, and there were also rockery, winding water, flowers, and potted plants. The concentration of spiritual energy inside was particularly prominent in this county city where mortals gathered. It's just a simple spirit gathering array that the old man got from the blood-clothed tower of your clan. It is better than nothing for the increase of Kigen. In terms of the abundance of spiritual energy, it can't be compared with Brother Chen's cave in the gate. Ding Man smiled. He knew that this was Chen Mo's nice words, but he was very happy to hear it, showing a smile of pride in the Ding family. Chen Mo thought, this spirit gathering array is much better than the so-called Kigen royal family of Chu Zijin from the subcontinent. At least the living environment is not the same as the soulless place of mortals. Entering the Ding Mansion, Chen Mo felt the same sense of class as in his hometown, the Jingnan Marcus Mansion. The servants and children of the Ding family who met along the way, as long as they were not Kigen practitioners, had to salute the two respectfully. There was no steward who was not short-sighted enough to ask about Chen Mo's origins. It was obvious that Ding Man had a very high status in the mansion. Even if he was born in a remote side branch and became a Kigen practitioner, no servant dared to make trouble. Ling. An 8-year-old boy was found with mixed spiritual roots of water. Ling. A 10-year-old girl was found with a spiritual vein of fire. On a lawn, a pair of children were playing and having fun, and the maid behind them followed and watched carefully. The chip's qualification detection ability is much stronger than the 5-element spirit awakening array. Just a scan, it was determined that the two had the qualifications of Kigen practitioners. As for the specific percentage of the boy's hidden spiritual roots, the detailed value can only be detected after the actual spiritual awakening ceremony. Brother Chen, this is the Qing generation of the 6th and 5th branches of the main vein. They are born smart, so the clan is training them as reserve Kigen practitioners. Ding Man saw Chen Mo stop and observe the two children, so he explained. According to convention, the probability of children born from the union of cultivators and Taoist couples having spiritual vein qualifications is much higher than that of mortals, so there is a long-standing saying of immortal cultivation families. Like Chen Mo, who was born in a mortal family on the subcontinent, but has the superior qualifications of the Yinzing 7 spiritual veins, he can be said to be a lucky one in a million. Ling. This is the field of genetics. Whether the spiritual vein is dominant or recessive, it is actually controlled by dominant genes and recessive genes. Only when the parents pass on one dominant and one recessive gene or 2 dominant genes can the children's spiritual veins be manifested. Those with 2 recessive genes must have recessive spiritual veins. What about me? Ling. The host's DNA analysis is complete. It is double dominant. The gene has a very serious tendency to become yin and spiritual. It is a gene mutation. It is speculated that the host's parents have no dominant genes. It is the purest first generation of cultivators. The heaven and earth have spiritual energy. After infecting mortals, they give them the ability to practice Qi and cultivate. After that, through marriages between cultivators, the spiritual vein generation rate of offspring is increased, and the spiritual vein talent is passed down from generation to generation. Although new first-generation cultivators with genetic mutations like Chen Mo are rare, they always appear from time to time. It is purely due to fate and the favor of the goddess of luck. It seems that if you are a little bit dark, you can still reverse the milk cultivation at a critical moment. Chen Mo was very fortunate. If he was not born with 7 spiritual veins, practicing the 9 yin forging veins method would be difficult and consume countless resources for washing veins. Greetings, Master Immortal. The mothers of the 2 children also saw the unfamiliar Chen Mo. The women of the mansion had good eyesight. When they saw Chen Mo walking in front of Ding Man, they knew that this was a Master Kigen practitioner with a deeper cultivation. They eagerly led the children to Chen Mo, as if they wanted to ask for a chance to become an immortal. However, Chen Mo was covered in a gray robe, and the two children were so scared that they hid behind their mothers and hugged their thighs tightly. Chen Mo would not force himself to be a money-spending boy since they were not related to him, but he teased Ding Man, "Why don't you bring your descendants here? If they are talented and you are willing to be willing, I would like to take them back to the Blood Cloth sect and take care of them." The two women in gold and silver knew what was meant by the music, and took the children away tactfully. As for the stir-fried pork with bamboo shoots after returning home, teaching them to act cute and be pleasing in front of the Master Immortal, it had nothing to do with Chen Mo. Ding Man, a 30-year-old man, showed a shy smile, scratched his short hair, and said, "Actually, I have a crush on someone. She is a female student from the Fang family, another Immortal Cultivation family in the county city. It's just that I'm still saving up the spiritual stones for this betrothal." Chen Mo smiled, knowing that Ding Man had finally become a Kigen practitioner, so he had the intention to improve the quality of his bloodline, but he didn't consider mortal women. Even though he usually hangs out with mortals, he still wants to continue the privileges of Kigen practitioners in his lineage. As for taking a charming mortal woman as a concubine, with his mere second-level Kigen cultivation and even worse actual combat power, he is not afraid of the lion roar of his Taoist partner, so he can give it a try. While talking, the two turned left and right and came to a secret backyard, surrounded by a sea of bamboo. The center of the spirit gathering array is in it, which is the place with the most spiritual energy in the whole mansion. The Ding Mansion covers an area of dozens of acres. With the financial resources of the old master's outer disciples who returned to secular life, it is impossible to exchange for a large array. The latest novels are first published in the 69th book bar. Therefore, the outer area only has a cultivator's aura that can only be understood but not expressed in words. This is the real gathering place of spiritual energy. Walking into the bamboo sea, there are cushions placed inside, and some young people around 20 years old are sitting upright, all of whom are in the first level of Qi training or Qi training foundation stage. Feeling Chen Mo's cold breath, the boys and girls hurriedly lowered their heads and focused on Qi training. Seeing these younger generations meditating and practicing Qi, I feel old. Ding Man sighed at the scene of young people practicing so hard, and then explained, "There are only 3 ways for the children of my Ding family. The first is to stay in the family, and gradually practice while spreading out, but there are too few resources and progress is slow. The second is to join the small sects in Qinghai County and nearby. Although the way is wider, you have to pay a lot of money to become a disciple, and only the most qualified direct descendants can enjoy it. The third way is to join the magic sect, which has the least number of candidates. The upper family designated by the Ding Mansion is the Gizan, but the Gizan's method of raising Gu has scared away too many people. So far, my Ding Mansion has only produced 1 disciple of the Gizan, the old man. The clever Ding family knew Chen Mo's background, and the timid ones almost practiced and choked. They felt that Chen Mo was full of demonic energy. Alice, look at your achievements. Brother Chen is kind-hearted. What is there to be afraid of? Ding Man is an elder after all. After a scolding, everyone listened obediently. Chen Mo thought to himself, it seems that the reputation of the demon sect is not very good even among the Immortal Cultivation families under its jurisdiction. It is a pleasure to have friends coming from afar. Fellow Taoisting, please introduce us to this fellow Taoist from the Blood Robe sect. A hearty voice came from the depths of the bamboo sea, and the green bamboo in front of Chen Mo automatically parted like a tide, revealing a 5-cornered pavilion. 5 men and women in gorgeous clothes sat in the 5 corners of the pavilion, drinking tea and communicating. The person who asked the question was a madman with his clothes half open, but he did not drink tea, but tasted wine, looking a little tipsy. Ding Man introduced, "This is fellow Taoist Chen Mo, invited by my younger brother to participate in this Qinghai exchange meeting. He was working as a servant in a farm before, so he was late. I hope he will forgive me." Chapter 47 Pavilion. The 5 people sitting here have different backgrounds. When he was young, the madman Su Jin used a landscape painting to exchange a Mu Ju from a high-level Kigen practitioner who played around with the world. After practicing alone for more than 20 years, he has achieved the 4th level of Kigen. This man is alone, unruly, and lingers in the flowers. He is a famous single wanderer in Qinghai County. A middle-aged Taoist priest is the master of a Taoist temple outside the city. The temple is very small and has only a dozen disciples. He relies on his 3rd level of Kigen to support the facade. The remaining 3 people are from 3 Immortal Cultivation families in Qingyi County, the Ding family, the Fang family, and the Chen family. Their ancestors all had disciples of the blood-clothed sect. The 3 forces harmoniously divided the power to govern the mortals of the entire county. The county government, the city guards, and the government offices are all occupied by the children of the 3 families without spiritual veins. Ding man, why are you in the fields instead of practicing? A cold female voice sounded, pointing directly at Ding man. The speaker was a young lady, who, like Ding man, was at the 2nd level of key training. Under the sharp gaze of the woman, Ding man twisted his buttocks uneasily, his face flushed, and he couldn't utter a complete sentence for a long time, changing his previous chatterbox style. It seems that this is the girl from the Fang family that Ding man is pursuing. Shrinking and being dull in front of the sweetheart is also the norm for some innocent boys. Chen Mo expressed his understanding, but still looked at Ding man with interest and almost laughed out loud. In the end, it was Ding Qingyi, the elder of the Ding family who hosted the exchange meeting, who smoothed things over for Ding man. Don't blame me, Miss Fang. It was because I didn't arrange it well and gave too many worldly affairs to my nephew Ding Xian, which delayed his practice. Ding Qingyi waved the dustpan, and a stone bench rose in the corner of the stone pavilion. He smiled and motioned Chen Mo to sit down. Qingyi County is remote and has thin spiritual energy. This exchange meeting will be much more exciting with the presence of Chen Mo, an outstanding disciple from the Blood Robe sect. As the host, I am honored to have such a guest. Ling. A faint spiritual fluctuation is detected, which is suspected to be a secret technique to detect the host's Qi Yuan. Caster Su Jin, do you want to initiate countermeasures? As a stranger, Chen Mo was courtesy by Su Kuangsheng as soon as he sat down. He was very curious about the cultivation level of this demon cub from the Blood Robe sect. Oh, so what if he is from the demon sect? A rotten wood is still a rotten wood in the hands of a wood carving master. Without the guidance of a teacher, Su Jin cultivated to the 4th level of key training by himself with a spirit of research in his bones. As a result, he was arrogant and wanted to compete with the disciples from the demon sect. Su Jin used the derivative of Yimuju, called the soul-detecting needle. It was performed silently, and the familiar people present did not notice the slightest fluctuation of spiritual energy, which instantly boosted Su Jin's confidence. Let me see, under the gray robe you used to cover your breath, what level of key training you have. Su Jin felt a sense of anticipation of spying on others' privacy, which was extremely vulgar. Using secret techniques to spy on others when meeting for the first time is actually a very taboo practice. Practitioners with sinister personalities may even turn against each other and take action. Only Su Jin, after becoming a key practitioner, did not change his self-willed character that he had developed when he was a mortal scholar. He relied on the exquisiteness of his techniques to blatantly ignore this unspoken rule. Without the strength to suppress 99% of practitioners, but acting recklessly, Su Jin will suffer sooner or later. Chen Mo pretended not to feel Su Jin's secret technique, allowing the invisible and intangible spiritual energy fluctuations to spread to the shroud under the gray robe, and then quietly urged a section of the shroud to release a trace of war evil. Ling. The amount of war evil released has reached 3 standard amounts, please cut off the evil energy supply. Su Jin's offense only required a slight punishment, so Chen Mo asked the chip to strictly control the amount of war evil released to prevent Su Jin from being unable to withstand the backlash of the technique and dying on the spot. Su Jin, who was holding the wine pot to cover up his spine, suddenly blushed and felt a sharp breath of metal and stone rushing back into the sea of Qi along the trajectory of the technique he released. This breath was very aggressive, and once it entered the body, it began to tear Su Jin's fragile internal tissues. There was a sweetness in the throat and blood rushed up, but Su Jin swallowed it for the sake of face, but a streak of blood still overflowed from the corner of his mouth. He immediately took a gulp of sake to moisten his throat, and Su Jin did not retch or to make a fool of himself in front of everyone, but his red face caught the attention of Ding Man, who did not know what was going on. With an idea, Ding Man thought of how to successfully attract Fang Qingyun's attention, just like a male peacock frequently spreads its feathers to attract the opposite sex. Is Dao Yaosu feeling unwell? I have some knowledge of medicine, and I can take your pulse. With poor cultivation, Ding Man could only show off his versatility in front of his beloved. However, Ding Man's well-intentioned concern exposed his ignorance. Fang Qingyun immediately retorted, fellow Taoist Su's major is Yimuju, which is to take the essence of plants to nourish the body. He has always been very healthy. How could he look unwell after drinking a few sips of sake? I don't know which miscellaneous book you learned your medical skills from. Su Jin was speechless and could not say anything. Under Chen Mo's half-smiled gaze, he responded in a low voice, "It's okay, it's okay. I just used my waist to pass the time in Nuanshan Pavilion last night." Feng Qingyan was not an ignorant girl, and her cheeks blushed slightly, and she said no more. Su Jin took advantage of the fact that he had spent the night in the flowers and his energy was greatly damaged to reveal this embarrassing topic. When he looked into Chen Mo's eyes again, he finally put away his arrogant look. The disciple of the demon sect is really powerful. What kind of evil spirit is this? It is so sharp. As a casual cultivator, Su Jin was not experienced enough and did not recognize Xianxia, but because of this, he was more afraid of Chen Mo. Okay, everyone, let's continue our transaction. I believe that Brother Chen will definitely be able to take out some rare spiritual materials that are unique to the Blood Robe sect, so that we can feast our eyes. Ding Qianai was an old man with a delicate mind. From Su Kuangsheng's abnormal behavior, he guessed that he and Chen Mo had already fought secretly. He became more curious about Chen Mo, who could make Su Kuangsheng suffer a loss, and couldn't help but look forward to the spiritual materials he was about to exchange. Chen Mo first looked at the spiritual materials that the 5 people in the pavilion had placed on the table before, and only saw 100-year-old blood-replenishing black ginseng, thinking, after all, this is a remote Qinghai county, spiritual materials are scarce, and the cultivation of key practitioners is also low. The spiritual materials taken out for exchange are all worthless goods. This black ginseng looks good. It has formed a vague human shape, and its skin is black without a trace of other colors. It can be determined to be a purebred. A storage bag, 100 low-level spiritual stones. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. A number of ghost fire ant trunks and legs, 10 low-level spiritual stones for sale. It can't be blamed that Chen Mo only took out these most worthless sundries. It's really that the war evil spirits, red-clothed talismans and other items are too precious. With the financial resources of the people present, they can't afford them at all. Immortal Cultivation family, it sounds good, but because Qinghai County is located in a remote area and the spiritual energy is thin, the Ding, Chen, and Feng families can be said to be the lowest-ranking Immortal Cultivation families. If there is no 6th-level Qigong practitioner in the family, Chen Mo alone can rob all their pitiful assets. Although what Chen Mo took out was not a good thing, it was very attractive to the 6 people present. Just like Ding Man, staring at the storage bag and drooling, until Feng Qingyan glared at him, he reluctantly moved his eyes away. Fellow Taoist Chen is worthy of being from a big sect. He took out a storage bag casually, which is a space-type talisman that can be reused. This kind of talisman that is convenient for life can only be refined by the refiners trained by the sect. Su Jin sighed. Just from Chen Mo's generous spending, he understood the gap between the bottom-level casual cultivators and the bottom-level disciples of the big sects. I don't know how many disposable storage talismans I have used up. Su Jin bowed solemnly to Chen Mo and negotiated, I hope that fellow Taoist will put aside the past grudges. Su is willing to exchange this century-old black ginseng for fellow Taoist's storage bag, and will make up the full amount of the spiritual stone difference. Su Jin was very jealous of this storage bag, because it could greatly reduce the burden of practitioners going out. As a graceful and elegant prodigal scholar, isn't it a very unclassy thing to carry large and small bags on a long journey and tear up talismans to get things? With a storage bag, I don't have to worry about not bringing enough silver when I drink wine in the future. Although this storage bag seized from Zhan Honghong is a low-level space talisman suitable for high-level key training disciples, it has a space of 10 cubic meters, which is enough for a lone traveler to store daily necessities. Chen Mo shook his head and said calmly, this black ginseng is indeed a great supplement for essence, but it cannot improve my physical strength and is of no benefit to me. Fellow Taoist Su, please forgive me for not being able to agree to your request. The remaining 5 people also coveted this storage bag, but it was difficult to afford it with their personal financial resources. If they asked for help or used family resources, the right to use this storage bag would not always be theirs. Once they got used to the convenience of the storage bag, they would be deprived of the right to use it and return to the original state of tearing the storage talisman by hand, and their Taoism hearts might be unstable. However, none of the objects they placed on the table aroused Chen Mo's interest. He kept silent, but showed an expression of eagerness. You are all a group of poor people who don't even have 100 yuan. It's good that you have the motivation to search for information about the Dragon Court's hidden agents for me. Chen Mo came to participate in this simple small exchange meeting. In fact, he wanted to get to know the Xuexin family forces with eyes and ears throughout Qinghai County through Ding Man's introduction. By using their network of connections, they could collect clues about the mission, summarize them and hand them over to the chip, so that it could analyze the specific information and complete the mission. Seeing that everyone was silent, Chen Mo coughed lightly and offered conditions that rekindled their hopes of getting the storage bag. To be honest, I actually accepted a sect mission to investigate the activities of Qiannigan spies in Qinghai County. If anyone can provide valuable information, I will offer the storage bag and the body parts of the ghost fire ant together. In terms of value, the contribution points of this exploration mission may not be able to offset the above expenses, but the people present are also self-aware and know that just talking and providing information is not enough to exchange for these two items with a total price of more than 100 low-level spirit stones. Therefore, in the end, they will definitely make up a reasonable number of spirit stones to make this transaction a happy ending for everyone. Chapter 48 Wang Kong Next Door. It is not an easy task to mobilize the secular forces to monitor the new faces who have recently entered the county town and even the nearby counties and towns. Therefore, after the exchange meeting, everyone present hurried back to their homes, showing their magical powers and driving their servants to collect intelligence. It seems that the temptation of the storage bag is still very strong. Not bad. Chen Mo sat leisurely on the stone bench, watching the backs of everyone leaving in the clouds, thinking, it is estimated that the foxtail of Qiannigan's hidden man will be pulled out within a week. After this matter is over, I will go to pick up Lao Wang's son. I remember that his name is Wang Yunwu. Just look at the name and you will know that he is a good material for martial arts. Ding Man also wanted the storage bag, but was stopped by the clan elder Ding Qianai, who told him to treat Chen Mo well. If the Ding family finds valuable information, he will also be credited. Fellow Taoist Ding is busy with work, so you don't have to accompany me all the time. Let me sit in meditation and practice Qi in this stone pavilion. Chen Mo took a sip of the tea that had been brewed in advance. It was devoid of spiritual energy and had a slight bitter taste. It was not even the most common spiritual tea for asking immortals. He was quite disappointed. In terms of taste, it's not as good as the freshly picked mountain tea that was presented to me by the people in the mountains some time ago. Bad review. After just a sip, Chen Mo put down the celadone teacup and had a deeper understanding of the limited spiritual stone finances of the Ding Mansion. Only a gathering spirit formation can make people's eyes light up. It is estimated that more than 90% of the young people of the Ding family can only rely on daily meditation and practice Qi to slowly improve their cultivation. Those with mediocre talents can only hang around on the third or fourth floor for their entire lives. Compared with the demon sex life-saving advanced resources and the survivor's all-inclusive gu-raising model, the means of cultivating children in the Immortal Cultivation family are much gentler, and they can live a peaceful life. Ding Man is an example. His greatest wish in life is to save up enough spiritual stones for the betrothal gift of marrying Feng Qinghun. How about this? I can arrange a quiet room for Brother Chen to practice in peace and wait for good news. Chen Mo's previous proposal gave Ding Man a way out. He had long wanted to arrange Chen Mo quickly so that he could go out of the house to look for clues about Qiannigan's hidden man. If I win the first prize and offer a storage bag as a betrothal gift, Sister Qinghun will definitely accept it. Ding Man began to fantasize. The process of practitioners forming a Taoist couple is similar to the marriage of mortals. The man's betrothal gift is a key to promoting marriage. Ding Man naturally wants to seize this opportunity and save the hard work of saving 10 years to marry a wife. Brother Chen, please follow me. Under Ding Man's guidance, Chen Mo came to a bamboo house about 100 steps away from the stone pavilion. Ding Man chose an empty guest room. Although the humble room is small and only one person lives in it, it is surrounded by green bamboos, which has a different sense of agility, which meets the higher requirements of most practitioners for a transcendent and detached meditation place. It's so fancy, it doesn't suit me at all. Bad review. You should take me to your Ding family's ancestral tomb. Chen Mo had no expression on his face, but he secretly cursed Ding Man in his heart for being so bad at doing things, but as a guest, he couldn't honestly make the above weird request and reject Ding Man's kindness. After all, there are too few people who prefer the yin spirit veins in the cemetery. The small Ding family naturally neglected a guest with unique tastes like me when preparing the guest room. Entering the bamboo house, Chen Mo pretended to be satisfied. Ding man couldn't read minds, so he thought he was very considerate and left happily. Ling. This is the secondary array of the spirit gathering array. Although the concentration of spiritual energy is high, it may become a turtle in the jar under the conspiracy of the array setter. The prompt of the chip startled Chen Mo. He didn't doubt that the Ding family had hidden evil intentions for him and wanted to kill him, but he admired the old man of the Ding family who had returned to the secular world for being worthy of being his senior brother. When decorating the ancestral house, he put the yin and evil style of the blood-clothed sect into practice. If an enemy breaks into Ding's house at night, this soul-trapping array, which is disguised as a soul-gathering array, will be enough to make the enemy suffer. The difference between gather and trap is the difference between attack and defense, life and death. According to the analysis of the chip, if the operator does not hesitate to damage the array, this soul-gathering array can be transformed into a soul-trapping array at any time, exerting 5 times the gravity on the enemy in the array, which is absolutely a huge burden for the weak physical Kigen practitioners. An idiot like Ding Man, once under heavy pressure, can't even use the flying cloud technique to escape. Ling. 3 escape and counter-killing plans have been planned, please check them out, host. Everything is prepared, and nothing is prepared. The chip regards Chen Mo's personal safety as the first priority, and transmits such life-saving information that may not be used at any time. It is in the first sequence that must be executed, and Chen Mo cannot prohibit this function in any way. After listening to the earnest teachings of the chip impatiently, Chen Mo chose the darkest corner to sit cross-legged and began his routine Kigen practice. Although the yin spirit in the bamboo house was extremely rare, Chen Mo still raised his spirit to 100%, carefully capturing the free yin spirit factor. The way of cultivation is like water dripping through a stone, only persistence, persistence, and persistence. The chip can increase Chen Mo's cultivation speed, but the cultivation itself can only rely on Chen Mo himself, so he dared not slack off for a day. Is fellow Taoist Chen from the blood-clothed sect here? I am Wang Kong, the poor Taoist, who is honored to be a guest official of the Ding Mansion. I am entrusted by the old master to report some intelligence collected by the subordinates during the day. Outside the bamboo house, a middle-aged male voice sounded politely. Chen Mo stood up from meditation and opened the bamboo door restriction, but his eyelids jumped involuntarily, and even the right hand that signaled Wang Kong to come in trembled slightly. Although Wang Kong is middle-aged, his appearance is well-maintained, with sword-like eyebrows, bright eyes, and a complexion as white as jade. Between his eyebrows, there is a sense of transcendence of a Taoist monk, just like a 3-foot-long sword half-unsheathed, harmoniously blending sharpness and implicitness. He must be the favorite of many women in the boudoir. Wang Kong thought Chen Mo's slight loss of composure was due to his overexcitement after receiving the news, so he paused for a moment before slowly speaking. Fellow Taoist Chen, I am Wang Kong from the bamboo house next door. As the old man is old and not energetic, I will work with you on the affairs of the Kaienigan spies, and I will be in charge. Recently, there are many unfamiliar faces in the county city. Although they have concealed their identities as merchants, escorts, porters, and peddlers, I still find similarities in them under the secret observation of several 7th-grade Ninggang warriors in the mansion. For these people, the Ding Mansion has sent people to monitor them and close the net when they show their true colors. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Although the Ding family is a family of immortals, it is impossible for the small number of Kigen practitioners to handle all matters, big or small, so they recruited a large number of warriors to indirectly manage the city defense and public security of the county city. In the sphere of influence of the demon sect, if warriors want to have a good future, they can only be loyal to the Immortal Cultivation family with a relationship with the demon sect, or to a small sect. This is the world of Kigen practitioners, and warriors are just their thugs, guards, and hawks. As he spoke, Wang Kong handed over a stack of drawing paper with his right hand, which was the faces of these suspicious elements. Seeing that Chen Mo had no doubts, he left quickly. Obviously, he also knew that it was impossible to exchange for a storage bag with just this information. They are just some suspicious warriors, and they cannot be asserted to be Kaienigan's lackeys. Ling. Wang Kong, Jingyan. 1.1, Qian. 6.2, suspected to be Zhao Chengjue's cousin. The reasoning is as follows. When Chen Mo opened a door, It was actually the above analysis result of Wang Kong's appearance by the chip that made him lose his composure slightly. Zhao Chengjue, who had been lurking in the blood clothes sect for more than 10 years as a chores, had a similarity of more than 60% with the guest official of the Ding Mansion in more than 10 details such as the arc of the corners of the eyes, the width of the bridge of the nose, and the overall face shape. In addition, the two boys and girls with the qualifications of Kigan practitioners that Chen Mo saw on the lawn during the day also had a facial resemblance of 70% and 35% to Wang Kong and Zhao Chengjue respectively. If only Wang Kong looked similar to the two children of the 6th and 5th branches of the main line of the Ding family, it would only mean that this was a scandal of a wealthy family. Wang Kong, a guest official invited by the old master with a lot of money, had no professional bottom line, cholera in the inner house, and tainted the bloodline of the Ding family. But the wicked son and daughter, and the old Wang next door, all look similar to Zhao Chengjue who died at the hands of Chen Mo, so the nature of the problem changed. Wang Kong was very likely a person from the Khianian Empire. The chip will record the facial and height information of people near Chen Mo in real time, and compare it with other people in the database from time to time to prevent the host from not recognizing a Loki master and being beaten up, cutting the road and meeting an acquaintance, cutting the grass and eradicating the roots but not completing the task. These are all dog-blooded incidents that may endanger Chen Mo's life safety. Therefore, after combining all kinds of coincidences, the chip gave an analysis result that was very close to the truth. Wang Kong and Zhao Chengjue are direct blood relatives or close relatives within 3 generations. They are secret agents of the Locking Immortals division. The latter sneaked into the Blood Robe sect as a slave to search for intelligence, and the former joined the Ding Mansion and is the person in charge of the secret site for transmitting intelligence. After closing the door, Chen Mo felt that he had finally found it without any effort. He thought maliciously, the mission target actually came to the door on his own initiative. This is good. You and Zhao Chengjue are a family, and you should go to the underworld together. He should not have gone far, and you can catch up with him now. Please be vigilant, host. Because the host has been publicizing the key information that there is a Khianian secret agent in Qingyi County, Wang Kong may have a sense of crisis that his identity is about to be exposed. The probability that he will jump over the wall and cut off the host's head to the Locking Immortals division to claim the credit is as high as 78%. Chen Mo's mouth twitched. He didn't expect that Wang Kong had ill intentions before he even caused trouble for him. Touching his smooth chin, Chen Mo sighed. It's a pity. He is an old man who has served the Ding family for many years, and his cultivation is even stronger than the old man. If I expose him, the Ding family may not cooperate with me to kill him. It would be bad if he got wind of it and ran away. Chen Mo had just arrived, and he only used the reward of a storage bag and the tiger skin of a demon sect disciple to get the current treatment of the highest level guest. He should not dream of more support from the Ding family. Moreover, the 2 young ladies of the 5th and 6th rooms were deceived by Wang Kong into bed and even raised their children until they were 10 years old. If you say that there is no trick between the Ding family and him, even a 10-year-old child would not believe it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 delivered to your door. Qingyi County is uniquely located, with similar distances to the Blood Robe sect and Kangzhou, the southwestern border of the Khianian Empire. It is not impossible for the Ding family to be a fence-sitter. Forget it, let's contact the discipline hall first. Deacon Wei seems to be in charge of punishment. The law enforcement disciples he sent must be outstanding. If the Ding family is ignorant and even secretly colludes with the Khianian Empire, we will destroy them all. Chen Mo made a decision and tore up the 1,000 miles communication talisman used specifically for reporting on this exploratory mission. A blue light screen the size of ordinary rice paper appeared in front of him. Chen Mo touched it with his index finger and wrote Wang Kong is the person in charge of the secret base of the Qingyi County of the Locking Immortal Division. The exploratory mission is over. As for the reason, he used extremely vague words such as I think, groundless to pass it over. Does my demon sect need ironclad evidence to kill people and destroy the sect? I am happy with everything. The Khianian Empire is trying to cut off the connection between heaven and earth, exterminate all the Kigan practitioners in the world, and cut off the path to immortality. Those who are in cahoots with them are even more heinous. Chen Mo snorted coldly, injected key into the communication light screen, and sent out a message. It is better to kill 1,000 Dragon Court lackeys for unwarranted reasons than to let one go. This is the way the demon sect acts. As long as it does not cause the wrath of heaven and the resentment of the people, and as long as there are not too many deaths and injuries of innocent people, no one will care. At most, it will be listed on the list of demon heads, demon sons, demon girls publicly rewarded by the righteous path, and be hunted down and killed by the younger generation who are eager to become famous. Of course, if the source of the news is wrong, the law enforcement disciples of the discipline hall have gone in vain and killed the wrong person. Chen Mo will naturally pay a fee to compensate them. This is also to prevent the disciples from asking powerful sect thugs to handle personal affairs under the pretext of assisting in completing the task. Considering Wen Kong's performance of pretending to be calm, his heartbeat quickening, and his eyes wandering when facing the host, the probability that he is Qian Nigun's hidden pawn is as high as 92%. Please feel free to call for reinforcements from the discipline hall. With the chip's endorsement, Chen Mo was very relieved, and took the time to review the 3 anti-killing plans provided by the chip before, looking forward to the wealth-sending boy to come to the door. At midnight, everything was silent, only the rustling sound of the wind blowing the bamboo leaves occasionally sounded, and Chen Mo waited quietly in the bamboo house for the willing to take the bait. Sure enough, the chip gave an alarm, and the thermal imaging map showed that a slowly moving thermal radiation force field appeared above the bamboo house, which was flipped over from the roof of the bamboo house next door. Although it has been covered by magic, the thermal image of the gentleman on the beam is 98% similar to Wen Kong. Please follow plan number 1. The anti-kill rate is as high as 79%. Chen Mo smiled slightly, performed the breath-covering technique, and shrank into the angle formed by the wooden cabinet and the armchair. On the meditation cushion in the center of the bamboo house, there was an empty shell of a gray robe. Chen Mo finally condensed a group of free yin spirit energy to cover the gray robe. The yin aura was so strong that if you didn't look closely, you couldn't find that Chen Mo had escaped. Wang Kong carefully removed a piece of bamboo tile on the roof, and the hazy moonlight poured down and fell on the black fog, but Wang Kong could only vaguely see a corner of Chen Mo's gray robe. You are so diligent that you don't even want to sleep. But it's not pleasant to have your key training interrupted and your Qi Yuan shaken. Wang Kong smiled sinisterly, muttered to himself, and rained a shower of earth spikes on Chen Mo. The sharp tip of each earth yellow prism was specially condensed into a triangular shape by Wang Kong. If it pierced into a human body, it would cause extensive internal bleeding. Puff! The expected shrill scream did not sound in the black fog. The black fog dissipated, revealing a gray robe full of holes underneath. The little thief is so calculating. Wang Kong felt cold in his heart, and knew that he had fallen into a trick of switching the bag. He wanted to jump away, but it was too late. A black and red shroud had appeared silently beside him. When Wang Kong stood up and wanted to leave the roof of the bamboo house, the soft shroud instantly tightened, and like a python, it slightly bent and bounced towards Wang Kong. In mid-air, the shroud at the front split into 6 forks, surrounding Wang Kong from 6 directions, up, down, left, right, front, and back, forming a cage that trapped him inside. The black and red cloth continued to shrink, squeezing Wang Kong's space for movement. Under Chen Mo's full urging, the war spirit contained in it wanted to drill into Wang Kong's protective spirit shield. Crackling, even the earth-based magic, rock, which is known for its defensiveness, could not withstand such oppression. Wang Kong, who was protected by the hazy earth yellow light, could not prevent the turtle shell on his body from being wiped away by the sharp war spirit layer by layer, even if he tried his best to inject Qi Yuan. With a fierce look in his eyes, Wang Kong, who failed to sneak attack and fell into a desperate situation, took out a piece of array disc with a missing corner, crushed it with one hand, and then cast his hopeful eyes on the core of the gathering array that covered the entire bamboo sea. This magic disc that controls the gathering array was not given to the old man next door by old Master Ding to let him better take care of the women in the mansion, but was secretly copied by Wang Kong. Although it was missing a corner and its authority was not as great as the genuine product, it was late at night and no one could stop it. In this bamboo sea, the gravity changed and became 5 times the original in 10 breaths. The air became heavier and rippled slightly, causing the tightening shroud to lag for a moment. Seizing this God-given opportunity, Wang Kong slapped a sharp gold talisman on himself, using his body as a sword and his head as a blade. He kicked the air with his feet and shot out. Like a red-hot blade piercing butter, Wang Kong's body stagnated slightly, and then he broke through the shroud's restraints. The cutting force was so strong that it tore the tough century-old cloth into pieces. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Pieces of broken flowers flew down. Wang Kong fell to the ground, his legs went limp, and he only managed to stay on the ground with his right hand. He was panting heavily, his eyes filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. However, his handsome face, which had charmed thousands of young ladies, was scratched by the overflowing war spirit during the breakthrough just now. The wound was so deep that the bones were visible, and the flesh and blood rolled outward. The bright red blood dripped like water, and soon soaked the collar of his shirt. There were still remnants of war spirit near the wound, which hindered the blood from clotting and forming scabs on the wound like maggots on the tarsal bones. Looking at this tragic injury, even the rejuvenation technique, which is famous for its recovery effect, could not help. Wang Kong did not dare to touch the handsome face that was disfigured, and there was no time to stop the bleeding and heal the wound. He turned his gaze to Chen Mo with a fierce heart. He thought that he had been caught off guard and his internal organs were shattered by the sudden 5 times gravity, and he lay on the ground gasping like a dead dog. However, Chen Mo's gray-robed figure was standing safely 100 meters away, and even had the leisure to shake his legs. Chen Mo's next move made Wang Kong's pupils shrink, and he almost vomited a mouthful of blood. Chen Mo's right foot actually tested back and forth on the edge of the trapped spirit array. If he took another step, he would be out of the core of the bamboo array covered by the trapped spirit array. How dare you deceive me? Wang Kong was furious. It was obvious that Chen Mo was very familiar with the gravity range of the trapped spirit array. This was just to make him angry that he couldn't catch up with him. Alice, the 6th level of key training has a lot of key yuan. The explosive power of the instantaneous spell is so strong that it is difficult to kill. Chen Mo sighed. According to the data model of the chip, although Wang Kong consumed a lot of key yuan in order to escape, and even impacted his meridians and blood orifices, leaving hidden injuries, he could still exert 60% of his strength under the desperate situation. Not wanting to bet that the Ding family would not help, Chen Mo would rather keep a distance first and wait for the disciples of the discipline hall to arrive before sending Wang Kong on his way. Chapter 50 Wang Kong? Zhao Chengjue. Gathered Chen Mo summoned the shroud to protect his body. The scattered pieces of cloth around Wang Kong were attracted and flew towards Chen Mo. Halfway along, they recondensed into a piece of silk as smooth as a mirror and connected to the original broken part. After being nourished by the war evil, the shroud was no less than an ordinary talisman. Due to the toughness of the material, it even had the ability to break and reassemble. The shroud's protective ability was extremely strong. Under its protection, Chen Mo could rest assured and wait for the nearby law enforcement disciples to reinforce him. Wang Kong, your soul-trapping formation is too small. What can you do to me? If you know what's good for you, why don't you surrender quickly? Reminded by the chip, Chen Mo ran to the edge of the formation early. He would not foolishly fight Wang Kong to death under 5 times the gravity. Even if his body was strong and he had the shroud to protect him, Chen Mo could not bear the battle in such a harsh environment. As the operator of the spirit formation, Wang Kong, even though he only had 1.1 essence, would not be affected by the gravity of the formation. There was a layer of gray light fog around him, isolating the power of the formation, so he could move freely. Your legs look weak. Did you just climb down from the bed? As a middle-aged man, you are half buried in the ground, you can't be immoderate. Chen Mo did not use any magic, but his verbal offensive did not stop, disturbing Wang Kong's Tao heart with a sarcastic tone. In fact, what Chen Mo said was not without reason. As a 6th-level Kigan practitioner, Wang Kong had spiritual energy to nourish his body, but his essence was only 1.1. It was obvious that he was too drunk and had sex, and his body was hollowed out. Wang Kong, if you don't make a quick decision, when the old man of the Ding family comes and knows that the 2 young guys of the 5th and 6th rooms are your children, it will be difficult to deal with them. The secret revealed by Chen Mo made Wang Kong pale, and he almost fell to the ground without holding on with his right hand. Ling. Wang Kong is panicking. His collusion with the Ding family must not be deep. It is judged that in the fight between the host and Wang Kong, the probability that the old man of the Ding family will stand idly by is 88%, and the probability of helping is 67%. After hearing the analysis of the chip, Chen Mo secretly said stable, and even regretted calling for reinforcements from the discipline hall early. The spoils of war have to be divided up for nothing, without a blood loss. However, Chen Mo's exposure of Wang Kong's scandal was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. He saw his hands supporting the ground fiercely grabbing a handful of soil, his eyes were red, and he showed Chen Mo an extremely resentful look. Very good, my brother Zhao Chengjue died in the demon sect a few days ago, and I have no blood relatives in this world, so let's die together. When Chen Mo heard the familiar name Zhao Chengjue, his spiritual sense jumped wildly. Knowing that Wang Kong was going to fight to the death, he quickly reminded him kindly, "Old Wang, impulse is the devil. You still have 2 children from the 5th and 6th rooms, don't give up on yourself. It's not impossible to survive if you take them away now." However, Wang Kong, with a pale face, snorted disdainfully and said sternly, "It's just a show with a woman in the boudoir. They have the blood of the descendants of the demon sect disciples, how can they be my heirs?" Wang Kong, who had given up hope of survival, cut the flesh of his left arm and took out a dark yellow token from it. The 2 words "locking immortals" were engraved on it. Chen Mo could feel the pure dragon energy on the token even from 100 steps away. It is said that every Kigan scum who joins the Locking Immortal division will get an identity token written by the Kayanigan Emperor himself, which can not only burst out dragon energy to hurt the enemy at the last moment, but also pass messages to the general token hidden in the dragon court at ordinary times, which can be said to reach the ears of the heaven. Hiding the dragon energy token that can transmit information in the body is really a good way to conceal the identity. Chen Mo was horrified. Dragon energy and Qi Yuan are naturally incompatible. Even if this token is made of special materials and has a good effect on binding dragon energy, there will still be dragon energy overflowing, which makes Qi practitioners disgusted. If you hide the token in your body, the dragon energy will accumulate over time and will eventually penetrate into the Qi Sea. What a wolf! Chen Mo admired Wang Kong's perseverance. His body endured the fierce conflict between dragon energy and Qi Yuan day and night, and his Qi training could not be improved. Judging from Wang Kong's appearance, he has endured these 2 kinds of pain for decades. At the last moment of his life, Wang Kong seemed to want to reveal the secret hidden in his heart to Chen Mo, the only living person in the Bamboo Sea. He was not in a hurry to fight, and said slowly, "My real name is Zhao Chengjue, and my brother Chengjue has the same pronunciation but different characters." Chen Mo was shocked when he heard this familiar name. New hatred and old grudges, there is no way to settle them. Chengjue can only practice martial arts, but I have the talent for practicing Qi, so I was trained by the Locking Immortal division. After practicing successfully, I came here to hide. My term of office was about to expire, and I was thinking of returning to the old house in Kangzhou to spend the rest of my life. However, I suddenly received the news that my brother Chengjue had died recently. Alice. Zhao Chengjue sighed, and tears of blood flowed in his eyes. It seems that he had a deep brotherly relationship with Zhao Chengjue, who died at the hands of Chen Mo. It's a pity that in order to stabilize him, Chen Mo would never tell him that he had taken his brother's body to the blood clothes building to claim the reward a few months ago. I remember that I got more than 10 contribution points. Thank you, brother. Chen Mo complained secretly. The latest novel is published on the 69th book forum. Zhao Chengjue didn't know that the murderer of his brother was in front of him, and he was still talking. However, as he spoke, his aura suddenly changed. Not only did his black hair turn completely white in an instant, but he also exuded a rotten smell. Ling. Zhao Chengjue's Qi Yuan fluctuated abnormally and dropped rapidly. The current Qi Yuan value is 5.3, 2.3, 1.3. After a while, in Chen Mo's perception, the dying old man in front of him had become immortal without any cultivation. Friend Zhao, you have worked hard to practice Qi to the 6th level. Why do you want to fight for the mortal on the dragon throne? Isn't it better to save your lifespan to impact the 300 years of life in the supernatural power period? Chen Mo persuaded him kindly, retreating while making the last effort. Let's sit down and have a good talk. As long as you tell me everything you know about the upper and lower lines, Master Guxi, a supernatural cultivator from our Gu grass lineage, will definitely accept you as his personal disciple. Chen Mo made a promise that was impossible to fulfill. However, when Zhao Chengjue heard the name Guxi, his eyes immediately turned red, and he gritted his teeth and said, Guxi, 30 years ago, it was him who broke through the border defense line of Kangzhou. My Zhao family has been blessed by the emperor for generations and guarded the border for the country. Unfortunately, more than 100 people in the mansion were burned to death by him when the city was broken. It's a pity that I have a shallow cultivation level and I won't see the day when he dies and his soul is destroyed. Chen Mo's careless words further stimulated Zhao Chengjue. He pressed his finger, and the dragon pattern on the locking immortal token lit up and turned into dozens of dragon energy chains, which broke inch by inch and released a ball of black light. The dragon energy contained in the immortal locking token was actually used to seal this evil thing and serve as the last resort to perish together after Zhao Chengjue's identity was exposed. Zhao Chengjue swallowed a black ball without hesitation, then showed a crazy smile, coughed and cursed. Kangai County was originally a county under Kangzhou of Maikaianitan Empire. However, the unruly people, bad gentry, and corrupt officials here are unwilling to obey the king's rule and are loyal to Yukigan monsters. Today, I, Zhao Chengjue, am willing to fall into hell and help my emperor get rid of the traitors in this city. National hatred and family hatred, foolishly loyal people, once they practice immortality, the harm is too great. Chen Mo flew back all the way, but his heart did not increase the slightest sense of security, and the chip also frantically warned, Ling. The concentration of yin spiritual energy on Zhao Chengjue's body suddenly increased. Suspected of being possessed by an evil spirit, please quickly stay away from more than 1,000 meters away. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.